Remember, you are the dream awakening to itself. Aloha, dreamers, shifters, interdimensional friends, multidimensional friends. This is Brendon, and welcoming you to another very exciting live broadcasted edition of Paradigm Shift Central Dream Class, presented on behalf of ParadigmShiftCentral.com, a real-world interactive game to be able to help assist with the shift in consciousness. So thank you so much for tuning in, for being here, for being a part of another very, as I said, exciting, educational, and inspirational podcast, broadcast, call it what you want. We are here creating digital sacred space as community to be able to learn together, to be able to grow together, to be able to explore the mysteries of the universe. So for those of you who are watching this live in the YouTube, please feel free to drop some comments, drop an 1111. Let me know that you guys can hear me okay. And I'll get into a bit of the introduction of what Dream Class is, helping get the ball rolling on some of the discussion, and of course, inviting you guys to be able to join in this roundtable discussion. So as you are familiar with other people who have been tuned into past broadcasts, you know that like every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going forward with roundtable broadcasts. Dream Class is another variation of that. The week after this, we have Destiny School about spirituality of ancient cultures. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be very exciting. And so what it is that we're doing, we're creating this circle. We are creating this ceremony as community to be able to share wisdom, to share ideas, to share knowledge, to share experience, to share practical tips. And those are some of the things that we are going to be getting into for tonight's broadcast for Dream Class. And we have done multiple Dream Class broadcasts throughout the Paradigm Shift Project over the years. There's literally 20 of these already online at my channel, youtube.com/skullbabylon, or check out Paradigm Shift Radio on iTunes as well. And yes, thank you to those of you in the live chat for the 1111s. You guys can hear me fine. I love you. Thank you so much. And so right now, as I'm just doing the introduction, for those of you who are tuned in live, join us in this circle if you want. If you want to be able to talk about why studying dreams is important to you, what it means to you, what are some of your experiences, what are some of the most memorable dreams that you have had? Because right now it is myself and we have Amanda here in the circle, and we'll be passing the talking stick over to Amanda as we get going into this. And that's it. So it's literally just the two of us right now, which again, even if it was just me, believe me, I would still be like just going forward with this and putting out the signal. And again, like that's the important thing. So, and just really inviting everyone to be able to be a part of this in whatever way that feels right for them. And okay, so Facebook has no audio, so let me take 2 seconds at this because I think I know exactly why that's happening. So as I just multitask here, for those of you who are on YouTube, bonus points for you guys because you guys don't have to deal with the fact that like sometimes it glitches out. But I'm just going to multitask while explaining to you guys what it is that we'll be doing here tonight. Within Dream Class broadcast, as a conscious community, as a spiritual community, personally, I feel that it is an incredibly important cornerstone to be able to talk and focus our attention towards dreaming, towards the topic of why dreams are important. Not only just that, but like, why do we dream? Not even just a question of what are dreams, but why do we dream? I think that question in itself holds a lot of validity. And out of these discussions, out of these conversations, it is about being able to explore our multidimensional nature. It is about being able to understand what it means as a soul to be able to experience this life on earth, to be able to experience what it means to be, spirit, what it means to be soul. And so, Amanda, please let me know if Facebook has audio now. We just posted again. So, yeah, again, for the record, if you're connected with me on Facebook, never watch the live broadcast on Facebook because they're guaranteed to crash. Always tune in on YouTube at either at youtube.com/skullbabylon or live.paradigmshiftcentral.com, and you'll always find the broadcast through there. Super easy. So I'm going to pass the talking stick over to Amanda in the next little bit. And again, as more people join this circle, we are inviting you to be able to talk about why dreams are important to you, what brings you to this circle, what are some practical tips that you want to be able to share with the community. And so as a listener, for those of you who are here present as listeners, and even still as as listeners, you're still a part of the community. You're still a part of this circle. And so thank you for being here. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to share this sacred space with you. And so what you'll be able to get out of this as a listener is further inspiration, further motivation to be able to perhaps put more focus towards your dream practice if it isn't something that you're already invested in, and to be able to learn some practical tips to be able to get some paradigm shifting within your mind in terms of, just thinking about dreams differently. Because oftentimes, like, that can be a big way as to how dreams can develop their meaning. They can develop more importance within your life just based on how you choose to think about them, how they relate to your perception of the bigger picture. And so I've got plenty of theories, concepts, experiences that I want to be able to share with you guys. But again, these circles are a place for us to practice having discussion. So if you're a little bit shy, then please absolutely join in. This is an opportunity for you to be able to become more familiar with being able to talk about the things that we don't normally get a chance to talk about. And that is why we create these spaces as community, to be able to learn, to be able to have these conversations, to be able to develop, in this particular concept, accountability in relation to the idea that dreams can be sometimes challenging. The practice of dream studying, dream experiences, dream practice, it can be a challenging thing. When you have a community, it can help develop that accountability, because you're just like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one doing this. There are other people investing their efforts, and our collective focus is something that, can help grow as a team. So we're going to keep this broadcast pretty much within 2 hours. That's the goal. So I'm going to keep this already, I've just keep the Babylon to a minimal, the Skull Babylon to a minimal. And again, within this broadcast, what you'll be able to get are, inspiration, ideas, practical tips, listening to conversation. And also by the end of it, we'll do a collective meditation around the dream tree, which is a concept of anchoring into the possibility, the very real possibility of shared dreaming. And as a community, this is something that we've practiced before, and I'll explain more about later, but there's the idea of like imagining a single tree, and we gather around this tree, and on an astral plane, we are already there, so to speak. And when we anchor in through this meditation, it is something that can create the narrative to be able to open ourselves up to the experience. So we'll be talking a little bit about, why are dreams important? What can happen within dreams? What do dreams teach us about ourselves? These conversations, we've had them before in other dream classes. So if you're interested in hearing more, definitely go check out the past dream classes. But again, the conversations change as we change. Every time we show up with something different. We show up with more knowledge, more inspiration, more information. And so again, please feel free to join this broadcast. The links are in the information for the video to be able to join. It's at live.paradigmshiftcentral.com/join hangout. Because, I'm actually going to do this, and we don't normally do this, but for those of you in the YouTube right now, we're actually going to post the direct link to join the hangout. And this is not something that we normally do. And the only reason that we don't do it is so it's just like, it's a threshold to prevent trolls from trolling. But I trust you guys. I'm cool with you guys. Like, intuition is just like, let's do this. So I'm posting the link into the YouTube live chat for you guys to be able to join right now. So all you need is Google Hangout, and you can sync up and be a part of this conversation. So right now, within the time that we started, we've got 4 people in here: myself, Amanda, Brian, Byron, and Jesse as well. So let's pass the talking stick around and get the ball rolling on this conversation to be able to have the topic, just like inviting people to just say, who are they and what brings them to dream class, and also a little bit about why the study of dreams may be important to them. And also we have Robert who just joined. So thank you, Robert. And I just saw your message that you can't stay long, so we'll make sure that we get the talking stick over to you. So who would like to volunteer to go first, just to be able to introduce themselves and share a little bit about what brings them to dream class? So between anybody here, if you guys want to raise your hands, then I will pull up your microphone and we will pass the talking stick over to you. So I know you guys have been in this broadcast. Byron, do you want to go? Was that a thumbs up, Byron? Kind of? Okay, cool. Byron, you're my hero. Thank you, man. Awesome. All right, Byron, I'm going to pass the talking stick over to you, and we're going to pull up your audio, and we'll switch the camera. And Byron, when you are ready, please feel free to say hello to the internets and tell us a little bit about what brings you to Dream Class and, why are dreams important to you?
Uh, yeah, I came to Dream Class because, well, my name is Byron or Brian. My real name is Brian. My artist name is Byron. It doesn't matter what you call me. Just don't call me late for dinner. Tee hee. Uh, um, I know. I mean, I can talk about my dreams from the past. I just saw there wasn't there was you and one other person, so I was like, oh no, I wanted to keep this going. You know what I mean? So um, for like I guess I've already talked about it before, but I've had that encounter of a reptilian in my dream before, and I've already talked about that in July's broadcast. But I want to talk about hallucinations because to me, an hallucination is a waking dream for me. Like when I'm awake, because I am diagnosed with schizophrenia, and it doesn't bother me any. Like I'm doing the best I can with what it is. I have Tourette's, and you wouldn't even notice that right now. But I used every 30 seconds, I would go and bump my head and make a noise. It would be a tick, and that actually healed itself for the most part through meditation. A lot of meditation, yeah. And but I've had hallucinations. I started when I was younger. I think my first hallucination I ever had was when I was playing baseball, and I swung out and missed, and I thought I heard my parents, yelling at me the whole time when I was striking out or whatever, and they didn't say anything. Apparently, I talked to them after the game. I was like, "Why are you yelling at me?" And they were like, "We didn't say anything." I'm like, "Oh," so that kind of shocked me. But I've had hallucinations up through then, but they started happening more during my college years and after, like since I've had like they're not always bad. People think that like, and it's just like a dream, like they could be good or bad, and they're or neutral. They could just be bizarre, like like when I'm with friends, I hear a baby crying in the background. I have to ask if someone else is hearing that because I don't know if it's real or not. That's another problem I have. Like with my dreams, I like to tether, and when I'm in my dream, I'm at the point where in the past I used to have a lot more anxiety. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this, 3 years ago, I wouldn't be able to talk in front of a camera 3 years ago. But to do it now, it's because of my dreams. I go to, I think it's Dreamy Moons or dreammoons.com, and there's a few other, like I have a book on it, A to Z dictionary on dreams, and they tell you the psychological or spiritual meaning behind your dreams. And at first, when I was younger, I used to always have a fear of falling. Like I had dreams of falling, and I would wake up right before I die, and I'd be in a cold sweat. But I read about it, and it deals with anxiety. It means that you have some issues you got to work out. And so I kinked them out the best I could. Just you just got to not care as much anymore in a good way. Not like you have to care and still be empathetic, but
Yeah.
um,
Cool, man.
but
Well, that's just a couple more points, and then we'll pass the talking stick around because it's just for introductions. We'll save more for later.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, 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 no,
Um,
not a problem, man. It's all good.
yeah, I'll have my list of hallucinations written down. How about that
Sure.
when if we get back to me or not? But I'll just tell you this quick thing about the dreams. It changed from falling to uncontrolled jumping. Every step I would make, I would jump very high, and that was again anxiety. And now in my dreams, I can fly, and that's like how do you conquer your fears for your most part. Like the best that you can, and everything's made up. All right, that's good enough for me.
That's awesome,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you as always. And yeah, like, Byron, I think you really hit upon some interesting points there right away because within this class, like one of the topics that we get into is really beginning to kind of like cross over, the waking reality and the dream reality and kind of being, bringing in that question of just like how different are they one and the same, are they extensions of the same thing, and so from my perspective that question is incredibly important, and I'll just like plant the seed here, but we can talk more about it later. But why I feel studying dreams is important is because within dreams, we understand that our thoughts create reality. And so if we can begin to understand that and also experience it and apply it, then that can help us become better manifestors within this waking dream, because the same principles apply. The same idea of all is mind applies. The thoughts you put out are the thoughts that like manifest the world around you. So yeah, I think it's interesting how your experiences with hallucinations and, like even crossing into the realms of like psychedelics and things like that, there's a whole experience where with psychedelics and again with hallucinations where things can be very dreamlike. The essence of this reality becomes incredibly obviously dreamlike. And again, we'll talk a little bit about that more later, and also inviting people again who are watching this broadcast, please feel free, share your experiences, come on in and we can talk more about it. And again, we'll talk about even like the concept of lucid dreaming and what that means and how that ties into everything, and even the concept of astral projection as well. And yeah, if anybody out there is like an avid lucid dreamer, an avid astral projector, if that's the right term, we would love to hear from you, and we would love to invite you to share your wisdom with the community. So let's pass talking stick around. I wanted to be able to invite Robert actually to be able to share, because I saw Robert's comment about not being able to stick around for too long. Robert, I'm gonna pull up your microphone and we'll just check if you're there, and just welcoming you to the circle. So Robert, can you just say hello real quick?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear. Perfect. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, Robert, thank you for joining. And just excuse me if I'm mistaken, but have you joined broadcast previously?
This is my first time.
This is your first time.
Jumped in.
Awesome, man. Well, welcome to the circle. Happy to have you here, dude. And we'll pass the talking stick over to you. And again, just a brief introduction, or really anything you want to share if you do have to leave soon. Just in terms of what brings you to the circle, and even any wisdom that you want to be able to share with the people listening in terms of like why dreams may be important for us to study as a community. So, Robert, go right ahead. I'll pass the talking stick over to you, dude.
Well, there's a lot. I don't want to explain too much because this is, like you just said, this is an introduction. I'm a very big into lucid dreams. I've had a lot of experience. I had even one last night. I'll share them all when the time's coming. My name is Robert Amaker. I'm a musician. I play piano. I play music for film. At conventions, I'm looking at composing for film in the future. But dreams have been very inspirational for me. I've received messages from friends who've passed away. I've received guidance on things that I'm going to do. I would love to share them with you when that comes around.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I would love to be able to hear more about that, because again, like a big reason why we create these circles is, again, this is a form of documentation of consciousness, and we're not only just documenting what happens within the physical dimensions, but this gives us the opportunity to collectively document what happens within those other dimensions, within those other states, within the astral planes. But yeah, man, I mean, I'll just kind of ask you, because or did you say, like, what's your schedule like? Do you have to leave soon, or was that somebody else who said that?
No.
You're good? Okay, cool.
That's not me.
Perfect. Sweet, man. Well, I'll just kind of, I just want to ask you real quick, because I mean, that's obviously a quick introduction, but we'll just kind of, plant some seeds for the listeners to get hyped up about as we continue the broadcast. Just share a little bit different about like why dreams are important, like what can they teach us about ourselves as like multidimensional beings? And, that's a big question, but answer it in whatever way feels right for you.
Let me say this, and this isn't so much reflected, but this may be a little bit odd way of answering this. I had a dream not long ago where, in lucid dreams, I realize I'm dreaming and I'm able to have fun with the dream from that point. But how often do you study the dream when you realize this has happened, where you take a step back and you're no longer trying to create and fantasize, but you're actually studying the atmosphere? I had a dream that lasted probably 20 seconds. But within that 20 seconds, I looked down at the grass and I reached down to touch it, and I realized that the grass, even though I could see it standing upright, it looked like normal grass. But the closer I got to it, the more I realized that it's not actually there. It's like a holographic image of it. I then looked around. I observed the colors. Keeping in mind, I know I'm dreaming, so it's not like general lucid dream where you just know it and you start going off. I'm studying everything as it's happening. And when you get to that point, it's kind of hard to hold that focus because usually you want to wake up right after that. But I started flying in the air, which is amazing, by the way. And I could feel the wind on my face. I flew over pine trees and I could smell the pine trees. I landed next to a pond of water and I could smell the breeze. And for me, to be able to experience that within a dream tells me that there's much more that we just don't quite understand. And I'll have some more stories to share, but that was so unique to me to be able to experience that and study it from within. Well, go ahead.
Awesome. Beautiful, man. Thank you so much for your contribution already. And I look forward to being able to have more of the discussion with you. Again, you know, it's as for me, for myself, you know, like I feel I kind of sit in the seat of kind of like a common dreamer, and what I mean by that is that like I'm not like avidly lucid dreaming all the time. In order for me to be able to have like vivid recall, there has to be like certain steps that I kind of have to follow, and just kind of like lucidity is something that can be achieved, but I really have to work for it. I really kind of have to like do, you know, the techniques and the science behind it, and so like to be able to have someone who is more experienced with lucid dreaming, who has had these vivid experiences, it's fascinating for me to be able to learn more from that as well, and just again just be able to listen to the stories, hearing that, you know, these are experiences that consciousness is capable of having. And I think for me, just real quickly answering this, and we'll pass the talk and stick around, you know, why is studying dreams important? It opens us up to a bigger understanding of what we are, of what consciousness is capable of experiencing. And you know, lo and behold, it goes back to the idea that like we are more than our physical bodies. And again, I'll get into some other theories, again, not so much on just like for me, the question of like what are dreams is a very interesting question. And I think there's some really cool places that we could go when we look about that, because it's not opposed to just being like, oh, it's a side effect of the brain, it just happens. But it's just like, but it's like, but again, not just what are dreams, but like why do we dream? Like if you were the universe creating itself and you created humans on Earth, why would you want them to dream? What purpose does it serve within the evolution of our soul, right? So we'll get a little bit more into that later. Let's pass the talking stick around again, and thank you, Robert. And let's just check with the hands up. Give me some spirit fingers if you guys want to go next, and I'll pass the talking stick over to you. Jesse, we'll pass it over to you. So Jesse, we'll just get you to introduce yourself and a little bit about what brings you to Dream Circle and why dreams are important to you. So Jesse, when you're ready, go ahead, dude. And Jesse, I think we don't have any audio on your end yet, and your microphone is up. So yeah, okay, go ahead now.
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody.
It's a little bit quiet, Jesse. Just letting you know ahead of time. So I got it pulled up, but if you move the mic closer, or whatever. Go ahead, dude.
All right. Okay. Yes, dreams. They're amazing. They're so potent. And I love them. It's just I feel like I haven't reached full potential to what they can become. So yeah, I'm very interested in them, and would like to like finally start enjoying them to their full potential. And there's definitely two things I'd like to share about dreams, which I've experienced, which are kind of paranormal or strange. One is sleep paralysis, and my strangest experiences with sleep paralysis are from waking up from a dream. You know, seeing people in my room and stuff. And the second one is my father, who appears in my dreams when he passed away a few years ago. So having him in my dreams always tricks me. Like because I don't know how to comprehend him basically because he's dead, and I'm like, what are you doing alive? So those are just kind of like two things I would want to talk about, I guess. But I just did. But I guess I could go more into detail, and I can't stay for too long tonight, but I'll stay for as long as I can.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse, and thank you for sharing. And I feel that like what you just shared there is something that a lot of people can relate to, and something that a lot of people would be interested in just hearing community talk about. And I'm sure, you know, other people in the circle, Robert, have some ideas and some perspectives on that. You know, just the whole concept of meeting people who have passed on within our dreams, because again, you know, it brings up the question of like, what does it mean to be alive? Can someone still be dead and alive? Like, is the soul still alive on another plane? And what is the dream space? Is it this like overlapping plane? Is it, or is it a common plane where again, you know, spirit who is not physically here can still interact with spirit who is physically here? But yeah, no, Jesse, thank you for sharing, man. Jesse, just checking in, how long are you here for, just so I know, so we can make
An
sure.
hour tops.
An hour tops. Okay, cool. So we'll make sure that we get back to you and talk more about that. Cool. All right, thank you, Jesse.
All right, thanks.
Awesome. Sweet. Okay, so again, just kind of going through introductions here, and then, you know, as we do this, we're just free flowing into the discussion, and again, keeping the broadcast within a 2-hour range. If it goes a little bit over, that's totally cool. People in the live chat, I just want to be able to check in with you guys. What are some topics related to dreams that you guys are interested in hearing more about? Be it questions that you want to be able to ask for the group, and we can collectively approach those. And again, just like any themes that you would want to see us explore. So let's keep passing the talking stick around, and let's see. We just have Amanda who is here, who can introduce herself, and again, reminding people who still want to be able to be a part of the circle that they're welcome to join. Speak of the spirit. I don't know. I don't want to say speak of the devil. Is that weird? No, I don't know. It doesn't even matter. My goodness. We just had another person join. So welcome, Kim. Hi, Kim. You can wave if you can see us, I think. And we'll pass the talking stick over to Amanda. Amanda, give me a thumbs up if that's cool. Can pass the talking stick over to you? Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, so we'll pass the talking stick over to Amanda. Amanda's been in broadcast in the past, and we're happy to be able to have her here for Dream Class. So, Amanda, let me just pull up your microphone and passing the talking stick over to you. And when you're ready, go right ahead. Thank you, Amanda.
Hey, guys. Okay. So, yeah, dreams are definitely a huge part of life, aren't they? And so one of the things that is huge with dreams is astral projection. And what's crazy is I was able to astral project like when I was a child. I remember doing it like when I was a little kid. I had no idea what it was. And I would tell my mom about it, and she'd be like, "Oh, you're astral projecting." And I'm like, "What?" So anyways, yeah, that was kind of crazy. When I was a little kid, I would fly through my neighborhood and I would go hang out with the cats in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And I remember that recognize them from daytime. And it was just the biggest thing for me was like thinking, oh my gosh, everything looks so different at night. Because when you're a kid, you don't really get to see your neighborhood at night because you have to go to bed early or whatever. And so that was one of my big things, was like, wow, everything looks so different, but still, you know, was my neighborhood. Thank you. And then, so that was a big thing for me. And I was just kind of studying up on that. And one of the things that the yogis used to do that I just read about was that they would tie two frogs together when they would try to astral project. And so when they would tie the frogs together, the frogs would croak. And if they went out of body and they couldn't hear the croaking anymore, that would be their sign to come back, to kind of keep them tied to the physical. So I guess like one of the practices that I think a lot of people do today in modern times is they use like a metronome or some sort of like app on their phone or something like that that kind of, you know, has that same similar repetitive sound. And then let's see. Yeah, lucid dreaming is a big thing that I've studied for years, because when I was like 13, I had a psychic dream of stuff that happened the day or the day after, I remembered my dream and everything happening. And so I got really into lucid dreaming when I was like in college, because I wanted to like understand, like, what is that? Like, how do I like actually be able to utilize that to, you know, navigate through life or whatever. So anyways, lucid dreaming, astral projection, dreams just being kind of a way to work through your day-to-day stuff. Like sometimes dreams are boring and you're just like, oh my God, why am I redoing all this stuff over again? Or you're like trying to plan the next day and you're like, oh, you know, it's not stuff that you necessarily want to be dreaming. But I am a firm believer in you're working through stuff. Like, and if you're not dreaming a lot of times, it's a sign that you're kind of stagnant or whatever. Like you're probably doing too much weed or, you know, whatnot. You're just not in the mindset to work through your stuff. And so, that's one of the things that I've had to examine as well, of like when there's absence of dreams, like what's going on in my head, you know. So that's just some random thoughts that I had
That's awesome. Thank
regarding
you.
dreams.
That's great. That's a wonderful introduction there, Amanda. Thank you so much. And yeah, no, I look forward to being able to hear about that. And again, you know, it's an honor to be able to have like people with a good variety of experience and assortment. And yeah, I think we'll find that we have a lot more in common than we may have previously not realized. So Amanda, thumbs up. Thank you again. Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Sweet. All right. So again, you know, at this point, we'll just continue to invite more people to join in. There's just the 5 of us in the circle at this point, but we do have, you know, the people in the YouTube chat. You are still in the circle, just honoring that as well. And within dreams and everything like that, I think it's a fascinating thing, and I really honor the fact that you are here listening to this broadcast right now, like whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, because if we step back and look at the state of the world right now, like straight up, and you know, maybe this is like, you tell me how accurate you think this is, but I think that like 98% of people on Earth right now are not paying attention to their dreams. Like maybe even 99% of people on Earth right now are not paying attention to their dreams. And when you think about this, like whether this was intentionally done or just a side effect of society, but there is so much happening right now that is just like pulling people's attention away from their dreams, let alone the importance of why dream practice should even be something to consider in the first place. So I mean, we got like, you know, an uprise in technology. We just got like people sort of living in the paradigm of thinking that dreams are just a scientific byproduct of the brain. We have like a more common use of cannabis in culture and everything like that, and like and that affects dreams as well, the dream recall specifically. And again, you know, like that's something I'll share this real quick, just from my own experience, and then again, you know, I want to be able to just take note of the live chat and everything as well, and I want to be able to even just like pass it over to Robert to be able to, you know, answer the question, explore the question of like, why do we dream? You know, why, like literally, like from like the conscious level, if you were to create dreams for humans, why are they there, right? What are they teaching us? So Robert, I'll pass the talking stick to you in a second to be able to get that, to explore that, and again, anybody else as well. And I want to be able to read the live chat in a second, but you know, like just hitting on upon it real quick, because it's something that we talk about every broadcast in terms of practical tips. But for those of you who are working with the medicines or working with cannabis, just be very aware that if no one has told you this, and maybe you've already begun to realize it for yourself, that cannabis has a direct effect on dream recall. And so it really becomes a toss-up for you. Do you want to enjoy working with cannabis during the day, or do you want to be able to recall your dreams at night? And for some people, it's a little bit different. It's not exactly 100% consistent for everyone, but for the majority of people, it really is quite simple that if you're like smoking cannabis during the day, then you're not going to be able to remember your dreams at night. And one way to think about this, I what the science is behind it. Maybe somebody else will be able to tell you better, but I almost sort of think about it in terms of like the subtle energy bodies. And when we're using cannabis, this is like almost like a side topic in itself that helps understand what cannabis is and what even like other, you know, other medicines are. It's almost like this idea that like when you smoke cannabis, you say like, oh, we're getting high. Another way you can think about that is that when you smoke cannabis, it like literally opens the chakras. And think about that for a second, you know, like you have kind of like that expanded vision. You can feel things a little bit different. And so when you do this, it's like almost like the pipelines are expanded and more energy is running through for that short period of time, you know, like 90 minutes, 2 hours tops, assuming you're not still smoking beyond that and everything like that. And then once you do that, within that 24-hour period, like those pipelines are like a muscle and they need time to kind of like recalibrate themselves. So if you've exhausted like those muscles during the day, then they aren't going to be as useful at night. Whereas if you don't smoke during the day, then those muscles are like ripe and ready to be able to engage with those higher states of consciousness at night. At least that's one way that I've kind of worked my mind around like why it does what it does. But anyways, one thing that I just wanted to mention is that, you know, even leading up to this broadcast, that was something for me to be able to approach it with that intention of like, I like doing these broadcasts because it gives me specific intention to be able to focus on my dreams. And, you know, truth be told, like I work with cannabis here and there. And even like literally yesterday, like I hadn't smoked like on Tuesday. Did I smoke Monday? I think I probably... No, I didn't smoke Monday either. No, I think I did. Sorry, I apologize. Don't judge me. But I didn't smoke Tuesday, so I had like Dream Recall Tuesday night, and then I didn't smoke last night. But I just wanted to tell a quick story about like how last night I was kind of like feeling like I'm just like, I was trying not to do too much work. I just needed to get out of the house, and I had set the intention of not smoking cannabis. And then what I did is like I went out and I like skateboarded, and then, you know, I just kind of like was like, you know, I was like, oh, a part of me really does just want to smoke cannabis because I enjoy just kind of like the routine of doing it while also using it to kind of like tune in and meditate. And again, it's a tool. It's how you use it, right? But then what I was doing, I was like literally in the place outside, and I like put the cannabis like in the bowl, and I had it sitting there in front of me, and I was really checking in with myself. And I was just like, what does this feel like? For me to be able to have said, you know, like I had already made the choice that I wasn't going to smoke, but then I'm like, or am I? I really want to, or am I? But then the fact that within me, there was a part of me that wasn't fully, it didn't feel like, I knew that if I did it, a part of me would like regret it. I knew that I wouldn't feel like 100% like solid on my choice. And so I kind of sat with that. And then again, for me, I had to like anchor in to what it meant for me not to smoke. And that was really investing in my love for my dreams. You know, I'm like, because that's kind of the thing is that the universe is really challenging us if that is an experience that's relative to you, because if you smoke cannabis, you kind of know what you're going to experience. You're going to, you know, go out in nature and do your thing and, you know, get creative and tap in and things like that. And then at the same time, on the other hand, you don't know whether or not your dream will yield anything that night. You really don't know. It's kind of like a roll of the dice. But if you smoke cannabis, that dice doesn't even roll. So it's just kind of like you're putting your faith in the universe, and you're creating a relationship between yourself and your dreams. And so for me, it was important for me to be able to like hold that pipe. And I was literally looking up at the moon as it was happening, and I was like, sitting with it, and I was like, I'm just going to put it away. You know, I'm not going to make a big deal of it. I'm just going to put it away. I'm just going to close the lid on my container, and I'm just going to go for a walk. And that's what I'm going to do, because like at that point, it was already late in the evening. I was already kind of tired. It wouldn't really have served me in the same way. And like I said, I had already wanted to make that commitment of not smoking. And then that night I went and I had dreams, and last night I had some very interesting dreams, and I'll just tell you real quick. First of all, in part of my dream, my dog Shelby was in it. Like both my dogs were in it. And for those of you who have been tuned in the past, you know that Shelby, he's like been in my videos in the past. He passed away 2 years ago. And so like even that, like that was a gift, right? For my dog to be able to be in it. We were like running through the woods together and stuff like that. And then another thing that happened in my dream is that I saw something that was reminiscent of a thunderbird. And for those of you who know what thunderbirds are, those are like mythical bird creatures. And in my mind, in my dream, I was like, oh, it's like a mythical Pokemon. You know, like that's what I was thinking. For those of you, again, for Pokemon, like those are basically the thunderbirds. And there was this song that was happening in my dream, and the song, it was like the lyrics in it were premonition. It was like the word premonition, but it was like stretched out. It was like premonition. It was like, I don't know, but it was like coming from the bird or something like that. So it's just kind of like, even if I'm just like, wow, what does it mean? I don't, what is the meaning? That is one thing, but the experience was like, whoa. Like that was cool. So again, if the universe is kind of in retrospect, if the universe was just like, hey, Brendon, do you want to smoke this bowl, or do you want to see a mythical creature tonight? Like what would you choose? And so again, before we even get into our dreams, before we even go to sleep within our dreams, I think it's important, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as well, guys and girls, to reflect on the idea that dreams are not always like a 1-to-1 equation. It's not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's not that. The elements of the equation are based on the variables of like how we emotionally show up for dreams. It's not just a matter if we practice writing them down, and if we like don't eat before bed, and if we're not smoking cannabis, and if we meditate. It's not just that. It's literally like our state of consciousness and our thought process and our emotional relationship with our dreams. So if you're just like lackluster and you're just like I don't care about my dreams, I hope I lucid dream tonight, if you're just like that. But if you're just like genuinely like, I love my dreams, I love the process of dreaming, I respect it as a ceremony, I acknowledge it as sacred, and I am honored by whatever I receive through the experience. And if you literally connect with that in a genuine way that's honest for you, then the universe will honor that, and it'll be like, yes, like now you will receive what you are ready for. And I think that's the big thing with dreams, is we understand through them that we will only receive what we are ready for. And again, it's like that's where it starts getting trippy, right? Because it's like, what determines what dreams show up for you? And this is where, it's just like, is there like another layer of consciousness that is like directing our dreams, that is almost like a programmer sitting at another level of consciousness, choosing like what dreams to send us? This is those questions. I love those questions and everything like that, because I feel there is something to that like through dreams, it's an opportunity for like our higher consciousness to be able to communicate through us, and not just our higher consciousness, but literally higher consciousness of other beings, other entities, and like, like our past self, our future self, loved ones who have passed on, loved ones who maybe even in the future, here, like this is where like even just in the comments, and I'm just going to get to those right now. I'm just going to read real quick. And again, just leave me any feedback and thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think about that? Does that like drop an 1111 if that resonates to you, what I was talking about with like my cannabis story, and just again, like the intentions going into dreams. But Crystal, in the comments, I'm just going to read the comments real quick. And again, thank you guys for leaving comments on the YouTube. And quick shout out, we got about 16 viewers tuned in right now on YouTube, and about 5 on Facebook. So thumbs up, guys, going good. Please feel free to keep sharing the broadcast. And Crystal wrote, I've always wrote a lot of dreams. I remember some come true. My problem is figuring out which is just a dream and which is foretelling. And then this is oh sorry, okay, Crystal's, that's the comment I was looking for. I just had to scroll up. Crystal Wolf 78 said, my grandma used to have dreams about pregnancies. She knew my mom was pregnant with my brother before my mom knew. So again, like stuff like that. It's like, that's trippy. I've had this is like, I don't need to get too personal and anything like that, but like there's been like dreams where like you'll like dream of like a future child that you haven't had yet, and I've had like versions of that and stuff like that, and like that's trippy. And Amanda, did you put your hand up there? Was that like I've had a dream like, yeah, okay, Amanda, we'll have to hear from you about that. Cool. And just reading real quick again, in terms of the topics you guys want to hear more about, past lives, astral projection, says Benny G. Just reading the rest of the comments. Ninanya says, same. When I was a kid, I dreamt that the forest would be torn down and houses built, and my friend would live in one of the houses, and years later it happened. Crystal Wolf says, dream dictionaries don't always help either. LOL, cannabis won't work on me. I get headaches from it if I've had vivid dreams for years on my own. And then Michael Pratt, hey Michael, says, yeah, it could be considered a tool. I found that it just depends on what experience you're looking for and what you're using it for related to the cannabis. So yeah, thank you again everyone for the comments. Okay, so I think Robert, did you just want to hit because I saw you drop in 11:11 when I was talking about the cannabis stuff and everything like that. And again, that's not something we have to spend too much time focusing on, but you know, just like quick tips for those of you like smoking cannabis every day and wondering why you're not getting more out of your dreams. Use it as an opportunity to develop your willpower and to develop other habits within your lifestyle, and your dreams will just be like a beautiful thing where you'll be able to experience some of the rewards that universe has ready for you when you're ready to receive them. Robert, I'm going to pull your microphone up and go right ahead. Passing the talking stick over to you, dude.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned all that because I got into cannabis about 2 years ago. I don't really mess with it so much anymore because I moved from an area that doesn't really allow for it. But when I was doing it, you know, I don't really remember any of the dreams. But it's a shame because this would be a great conversation to have while having some cannabis. But that aside, one of the questions you were mentioning earlier is, what would be the purpose? What if we were to tell someone the purpose of dreams? What would that be? And I think that's really difficult. I think that's probably what a lot of scientists want to know as well. But I do feel from experience that there's not one answer. I feel like there's multiple things, and it can be complicated. You mentioned someone communicating, and I mentioned as well someone communicating with someone that has passed away. I'll mention that real quick. I had a friend of mine that passed away in Iraq when I was in the military, and I was actually stationed in Korea. And I would always have these dreams, and he would be visiting me in Korea, and I was always wanting to show him around that area. And he would always have to go ask his wife in the dream if he could go do it. And so his wife was always there. Couple years later, I'm having a dream about him, and I'm no longer in Korea. I'm at Fort Campbell, and and we're leaving a mall in the dream, and I say, "Hey, man, get your wife and let's go and have a cookout." And he looks at me and he's depressed, and he says, "Amanda isn't with me anymore." Now you got to keep in mind, you know, he died in Iraq, and she was 2 weeks away from giving birth. And I'm not trying to bring the room down. The point is his wife was very emotionally attached to him. This was devastating to her, and so this isn't something where a normal human being can just walk away from a situation and find someone else so quickly. And it had been a few years, but he had told me right there in that dream that she had found somebody else. I immediately woke up, looked on Facebook, and she was in a new relationship. And so that's the first time, and honestly, probably the only time something like that has ever happened, where someone has told me something and it was true before I saw it. That was very interesting. Another thing I do think that dreams do is I think they heal you. A lot of us can relate to that. I've had many dreams. Again, just having a dream of my friend who passed away, that is healing in itself. It's being able to be there with him and ask them questions. Why are you gone? Why, you know, all these tough questions. Another thing I think dreams do is I think they sometimes challenge us. At this point in my life, going back around 6 months ago, I used to be afraid to sleep in the dark because I had seen spirits growing up, and it followed me all the way into adult. I did not like sleeping in the dark. Well, I started challenging myself, and within my dreams, whenever there was a scary situation that was about to take place, to not be afraid of and run from it and actually approach it. I'll mention two of them briefly real quick. And they all take place in some spooky dark water. One of them took place going into this really dark room. And there's this pool in this room. And it's very dark. And this pool is not very big. But when you look down into it, it's like it goes forever. And it's like pitch black beneath it. And down in the bottom, you could see this huge beast that represented like a giant tadpole. And in the dream, I was like, I ain't stepping into that. I'm not going down there. No way. But in my mind, I don't know how I knew this, but in my mind, I knew that if I could get down there, to the right of that creature was a bunch of treasure. There was something there. It was just a matter of overcoming my fear. Well, I failed that test. I never jumped in and did it. So I had this dream, not quite the same, but I had another dream that took place. And this time I'm over a pond in the middle of the night. It's spooky. There's like this seaweed coming out of it. There's fog over it. Nobody wants to be over some water in the middle of the night like that. Well, I forced myself to go down into the water. Keep in mind a natural human instinct. And so I dug myself down, not having the same sort of fears that I started having anymore. Could it potentially had nothing to do with the dream? Maybe. But it's just interesting that for me recently, I felt like I was being challenged spiritually with these dreams, because when you dig into spirituality, you dig into realms that we aren't quite used to, and that consists of other beings that we may not be used to. And if we fear them, then that halts our growth. And so for me to be able to experience that in the dream and step out of it, it followed me out into the world. And so I no longer have that fear of any of that anymore. What else? So, I mean, that's great. And then I have a lot of dreams as well of going back to different time periods. I had one last night of being in the 1850s. And it's just unique because those could be tied to other past lives, if you believe in such a thing. For me, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just very interesting to be able to live out through those time periods. I've also, and it's difficult to distinguish what's a dream, what's going to be a prophecy, what's going to happen. But you just sort of have to take them one by one. And I got one right on my mind. I'm trying to think of it. Oh yeah, for those who believe in the power of attraction, dreams are great for that. Dream to where you've earned $1 million, or you found someone you love, and then you woke up later on that night and you were mad that it was gone. Well, there's something that I would encourage you to do from this point on. Next time you have a dream that you've earned $2.6 million, or you found your soulmate or whatnot, and you woke up from that dream, thank the universe. Thank the universe for it, and imagine that that's yours. That's the universe telling you that's yours, and you're going to get it. And if you wake up and you say, oh man, it's just a dream, then you just dismissed it. But if you wake up and believe that that was a gift from the universe, a vision of what's to come, and treat it, carry that emotion you had when you woke up every day with you, and go tell people, go tell your family, hey, this is what I dreamed, and it's going to come. It's going to happen. You will manifest it. And I've started manifesting it myself as of recently. But that's it. I'll pass it on.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. That's wonderful stories that you had to share there. I really appreciate it. And I just wanted to mention real quick, just like a side note and everything like that. Just thank you for your service as well. You were mentioned that you were involved with servicemen and women, so thank you for that as well. And again, just like relating all of this back into all sorts of topics, there's a million different directions in which we can take this. And at this point, I want to just be able to pass the talking stick over to Amanda. Do you want to thumbs up, Amanda? Maybe because you were talking before about like even a couple stories that you had of like premonitions related to your child being born. If that's something you would want to share, and anything else at this point, this is kind of like a story time around the fireplace, around the digital fireplace. So please feel free to share your stories, and even Robert, we could even go back to you with this question too, because I posted this on Instagram earlier. Asking people, what is the most memorable dream you have? And that's a very interesting thing to think about, because like, why is it the most memorable dream? Is there a part of that still holds like a relevance to our bigger story and everything? So for the people listening to this, I invite you to just ponder on that while you listen to this broadcast. What is the most memorable dream that you have? Or maybe, what is the most memorable dreams that you have? So Amanda, we'll pass it over to you, and we'll continue to dive deeper down this rabbit hole together. So Amanda, let me just pull up your microphone. Talking stick is in your hands, and when you're ready, go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so it was weird when I was God, how old was I? I was probably like 16 years old. No, maybe I was like 17. I don't know. Anyways, I was young and I had a dream about my future daughter. And I even drew a picture of her, of like a baby, and was like, afterwards, I was so affected for so long by that. I was just like, wow, I'm going to have a girl someday. And it wasn't even with the person I was with at that time. Like, it was, you know, it's kind of crazy. And I remember, I think she was singing to me or I was singing to her. And it was just like one of those things that stuck with me enough to where I was like, I have to draw a picture of this. I have to like put this down on paper. And so I had it hanging up in her nursery when she was born. I hung up the picture that I drew of her. And I think there was like some song lyrics that went along with the dream that I put into the picture. And who knows where that is now. I may still have it. But yeah, that was interesting. And then the other thing was I never thought that I was going to have another child. And I had dreams about having another daughter, and I would talk to her. It sounds bizarre, but I would be just like driving down the road and I'd be talking to my unborn child, and I was like, I know you're going to be born someday, like I don't know when, just it's going to happen, and when it's right, and stuff like that. And to be honest though, the weird thing is about that is that I never fully believed that I would be able to have another child. It was what, 15 years between my daughters. So it's, pretty bizarre, but I knew that, she was meant to be. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is you were talking about manifesting, and I don't know, like there's a lot to that. I feel like we do work through a lot in our dreams and manifestations. Oh my gosh, like I've had dreams about future places that I was going to live and stuff. And that's a big thing that I've talked to people about. Like even my husband now, we're looking at real estate right now. And I'm like, I'm still waiting to have a dream about this place because I don't know. It's just, once I have a dream about it, I know it's going to happen. And so that's kind of a thing for me too, even relationships or, future homes that I've never even seen the inside of. I'll have dreams about it and then it and I end up living there. So anyways, that's cool. And I wanted to real quick tell you guys about one of the coolest dreams I had was like a lucid dream. It was New Year's, I think 3 years ago, and I decided to meditate. Like it was New Year's morning and everybody was asleep, passed out, and I'm laying in bed meditating. And I got my spirit guide to come to me, and he came in the form of a bee, like a honeybee, which sounded bizarre even to me. But then later on, when I was explaining it to one of my friends, I realized like he did that for purposes of like me being able to understand him because he's from the or whatever dimension. I think he's from the sixth dimension or whatever. And so, in order for me to understand, his physical makeup, he presented himself to me as a bee. And he even used that as a way of like saying, so here's the thing, guys. The message from him was, hey, we need to think in terms of like the bees, how bees function, and like you have a lot to learn from bees. They have this whole kind of lifestyle and just what's the word, like society of the society of bees. Anyways, there's a lot to learn from them. And he was like, so be like the bees. Yeah, hive mind kind of thing. Like he was like, tap into that whole like oneness, hive mind thing. And, I feel like there's so much that we can learn from that. And that was what he brought to me. And there was a lot else that he said, but we'll get into that later when we talk about those kind of things. But anyways, that's my offering about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda, for sharing. And thank you for, I guess, are you like kind of outside right now? I just like the ambience of like the noise in the
Can
background.
you hear them?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear the crickets. Okay, yeah. So this is like one of those wedding tents. This is where I live. We live in an Airstream, and we have this outdoor tent kind of thing that we use for dining and just hanging out. We've got
Awesome.
the baby's toys in here. It's like our living room.
Nice. Sounds like a good place for some good dream time. So
Totally. We have hammocks too.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you again, Amanda. And I look forward to maybe hearing a bit more about messages from the entities from the 7th dimension and beyond or something. So,
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Sweet. All right. So
next time.
Yes. We'll plant the seed. Cool. So again, just thank you everyone for being a part of this. And if there are specific topics that you want to hear discussed, please leave those comments in the live chat. And so I'll just take a moment here just to kind of hit upon a couple things. And then Jesse, Byron, if you guys want to say anything, just put your thumbs up and we'll pass the talking stick over to you. And was that Byron, you do want to say something after? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna practice communicating a theory that I have, and it's one that I've talked about in previous dream classes. But again, it changes every time I try communicating it, so to speak. And so you guys tell me whether or not this resonates with you. It's basically the idea of, again, asking the question of like, why do we dream? And so dreams are really important because for me, they kind of like, again, begin to reveal this possibility and this idea that like this reality is an extension of the dream space. It's an extension of the place, or this is the way how I explain it, that dreams are closer to, how do I usually say it? Like the dream space is very much like closer to the place in which we come from before we are born and we go to after we die. And so literally, like, if you think about that from that perspective, it's this idea that the physical reality that we are experiencing right now from a linear perspective, quote unquote linear perspective, came second. What came first was the idea that like the reality was experienced primarily within the dream space. But again, it wasn't even called the dream space at that point because it just was all there is. And what it is as a dream space is just like a plane of existence that's not as dense. And this can be observed. And so when it's not as dense, that means that objects can pass through things. Thoughts can manifest at a much more rapid rate. You can think of things and teleport places. These are experiences that can be like had by people when they are in lucid dream states, and even when they're not in lucid dream states, it can still occur. And so if we're looking at things from the idea that, if consciousness was like, okay, let's play a different game here, and this is almost getting into the Alan Watts territory because he talks about this too, and there's no coincidence that he talks about this, and I'd be talking about it even if he didn't talk about it, because again, it's just like an internal truth that resonates with me. But again, it's this idea that reality was like, okay, we can experience all these magical things within this infinite state. Let's make a different story where things are a little bit more of a commitment, where we're going to live a different story and we're going to create this density that is going to be something that we're going to have to invest ourselves in through time. And so this is kind of like where the physical reality came from. And so like over time, like the soul chooses to be within this physical incarnation, and yet why we dream is that so every single night we have the opportunity to reconnect to the place where we are actually from, quote unquote from, so to speak. And so it's this idea of thinking about the fact that, we are fifth dimensional beings experiencing a three-dimensional reality. And why we dream is to be able to return to that fifth dimensional state, and also to be able to bridge our identities as a fifth dimensional being with our identity as a three-dimensional being. Because essentially, you know, like that is kind of, if you're talking about ideas of ascension and things like that, I feel that that's kind of the big kicker. That's like a kind of the big goal. It's not so much this idea of ascending to another plane and leaving this third dimension, but it's anchoring in the 5D awareness, the 5D consciousness into the 3D reality. And if you're kind of like, you know, just, this is kind of a side note, but it's like, what is 4D? 4D can almost be thought of as kind of where a lot of people are a lot of people, as in people like you and I, so to speak, and not segregating, but just kind of those who have invested their efforts towards researching and experiencing these. 4D can sort of be thought of as like the bridge. People who are kind of in this state where like they are kind of opening up to 5D consciousness. They're still in the 3D experience, but they're aware of it. So like 4D is kind of like this bridge between the two kind of thing, if we are trying to use that label at all. But again, I think dreams exist for the purpose for us as 5D consciousness to be able to integrate that knowledge into our 3D experiences. And almost like every night when we dream, it's like we're going back to that spiritual plane, that higher dimensional plane, if you want to call it that, almost to like recharge our spirit. And while we're there, like let's say it is recharging, but while we're there, we're literally being able to experience lessons, receive information, communicate with other parts of ourselves, communicate with loved ones, for the purpose of being able to accelerate the rate at which consciousness can evolve. And so like you start thinking about it this way, it's like, oh, okay, this is starting to make sense. Like now dreams are actually becoming logical as to why they are here. And when you think about it, it's this idea that if you were the universe creating itself, why would you only want to be able to learn when you're awake as like a 3D being? It would make sense that you would want to be able to use as much of your time learning, as much of your time as a student of the cosmos. And so when we dream each night, it's an opportunity for us to be able to learn, for us to be able to experience and grow. And so this is where, for me, you ask this question of like, are dreams real? My simple answer to that is the idea that if you can learn from something, that makes it real. If you can go through an experience and it affects you through that experience, and you can grow, that you can learn something, that you can expand, that makes it real. So if it has an effect on you, it's real in that sense. And so like from that idea, it's just being able to understand that each night we have the opportunity to show up intentionally as students of the cosmos, to be able to learn, to be able to evolve ourselves, to be able to integrate our 5D consciousness, and to be able to show up with like more of who we are. And so like that's like a really, really beautiful thing, because again, it's opening us up to this bigger picture of who we are. Like it's crazy, right? Because it's sometimes hard to comprehend. It's like, okay, like you are you in this timeline, but you're more than that. Who you are right now is just a fractal of who you really are. And when you're in that dream space, you can begin to explore that fractal. You can begin to explore those other parts of yourselves, past lives, future lives. And again, even the concept of like future lives is trippy, right? So again, within these higher dimensional planes, time as we know it is perceived differently, and that's why information can kind of like move through us differently. And yet even right here, again, right here, all of these dimensional planes, like they're not separate. They're all kind of like in the same space. They're all kind of overlapping. They're all a part of like the same ocean, just at different frequencies. And so again, like even within this dimension right here and right now, we are still receiving information from the future. And we receive this through our intuition, through our chakras, if you think about it that way, through our visions. And in the same way, we are projecting information into the future through our intentions, through our prayers, through our quote unquote dreams in that sense. And so there's another part of this, and I'll just pass the talk and stick around in a second. And again, if Byron or Robert or Jesse, if you guys want to say anything, please feel free. And again, even shout out to those of you in the comments as well. But it gets into this idea of like, not even just thinking of dreams as just like a side effect of the brain, but something that is there with intention as part of the soul experience. And then it can get a little bit crazier because you can almost start to think of dreams as almost like kind of like something similar to an advanced form of spiritual technology. And that's like just one way to be able to explain it. And so you can almost imagine that there are other entities, other degrees of intelligence, call them our guides if you want, because in some ways that's part of it, who are almost observing us on this 3D plane. And when we go into the dream space, that's their opportunity to be able to interact with us. They can interact with us during the day, don't get me wrong, you know, through synchronicities and again through like omens and messages and things like that, and like, you know, thoughts within our head and stuff. But like within the dream space, that is a common space. It's not just something within our head, it's literally us kind of like going into that other dimensional space. And while we are there, these guides or these entities, sometimes even malevolent, and this is a whole conversation itself, can engage with us, can like literally almost like log into our dream space and can interact with it. And again, this is where I was saying, like, is there a part of us that is like up on a hyperdimensional computer somewhere who is like programming our dreams, who is like sending a script, almost like a computer script or a movie script, into our dreams? They're like uploading it into our dreams and like, all right, tonight we're gonna like do the one where they like, you know, go flying through the waterfall and find Atlantis or something like that, right? You know, so it's really again, you know, these are just thoughts, and I put these out there to just encourage you to keep thinking for yourself, to keep, you know, connecting the dots in a way that makes sense for you, while at the same time inviting and encouraging you to understand that as we invest our focus towards our dreams, we are doing so in an almost altruistic way to be able to, you know, anchor in that 50 consciousness through our experience, through the integration of it into who we are, and then being able to share that with others, because it is within everyone's birthright. It is our divine birthright to be able to be aware of what we are. To thine own elf be true. That should be a bumper sticker or something. Obviously it's like to thine own, you know, to thine own self be true, or know thyself, but you know, it's like know thy elf. Anyways, but then again, you know, there's this whole other story of like, you know, like are dragons and elves, or like, do they still exist within the dream space and things like that? Let's talk about it. I just want to pass the talking stick around, and thank you for listening. Byron, did you want to say something next? Okay, Byron, I'm going to pass the talking stick over to you. And if you guys are in the live chat, drop an 1111 if that resonates with you. Again, I want to know your theories. These are just ideas. Let's have some fun. Byron, bringing the microphone up on your end. When you're ready, dude, go right ahead.
Yeah, I need feedback because I got a few things I can talk about, but this is going along with what you're kind of talking about, dimensional things. I can talk about it, like Carl Sagan has a good YouTube video on it from, like, if you type in fourth dimension Carl Sagan, you'll probably find a good YouTube video on it, probably better explaining it than I can, but of what it is to experience the first dimension, what it is to experience the second dimension, what it is to experience the third and fourth and so on. But would you like me to go on about that, or just go on about my personal dreams? Or
I mean, if the dimension stuff, if you feel it ties in specifically with dream stuff,
you know, I think it could tie in. I think it's good to know. It's like a tool that you could use later by knowing it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. All
so
right.
I'll go
anchor us into that. Yeah, go ahead, dude. That's fine. And
so
keep in mind that some people will just be hearing the audio of this if you're showing visuals. So.
I'm gonna explain the pictures as I go along, or whatever I got. First dimension you can think of as just like a line, right? And it either exists or doesn't exist. And to see, like, to exist as the first dimension, you would either see like a tunnel of light or a tunnel of darkness or a gray in between. And that's all you'd experience. And if you think about it in an evolutionary standpoint, that's kind of what we saw when our eyes first evolved, right? Now, second dimension, you get like squares and circles or triangles, you know, just the, you know, and then there's trapezoids and rhombuses and whatever else you want to go into. But to exist in the second dimension, it would be like looking at an ocean from far away and then seeing freighters or boats, you know, so you can see lines. You no longer see just existence or non-existence. You can still see that. But on top of that, you can see lines where there'd be a line here, space, line here, space, however long they may be. The third dimension is what we experience with our eyes. And and Doppler wise with our ears and whatever else. But you can think of a cube, a cylinder, a sphere, and then everything else. But we actually see it as flat. It's the shadows from light that actually it takes time to learn our spatial recognition. There's actually, I don't know, like I was going to be a teacher at one point, and I remember they're talking about there's like multiple levels of intelligence, and one of them is just spatial recognition. And those that are good at spatial recognition are often good artists or good dancers because they know how to do flips and things like that. All right, but anyways, the last one that we're talking about is this like God thing that we're kind of getting into, like this dream thing, and like so is that someone's phone's ringing or something? Oh, I gotta hang this up. Sorry.
You gotta go. That's okay.
Nope, I'm good.
You're good. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Continue.
The fourth dimension, if you look up the word tesseract, and I think you spell it Tesseract.
Correct.
It's like this. It doesn't stand still. It's a constantly growing and imploding cube. Is how and that's just a shadow of what it would be. And the reason why we can't see it is because if every dimension that I mentioned needs to have a new right angle to exist. And with our level of, in our realm of physics, we cannot reach that right angle. Like, I'm not saying we can't. I'm saying that maybe we can't do our dreams with that, but we can't do it. Like, I can't, if I could get through, let me explain it like this. What they see is like an MRI. So like MRIs are like they scan your brain or they scan your body and they can see through you at layers. So if I were to see the fourth dimension, I wouldn't. It depends on how far away I am or how close I am, but I wouldn't see just my eyes. I'd see my eyeball, my brain, and everything else behind it. Because we're third dimensional beings, seeing in a two-dimensional surface basically is all we're ever seeing. We can imagine what this is like, but we can't get there unless it's through dreams or whatever. And that's all I wanted to talk about for dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Byron, I think you hit upon some key notes there because you know, within dreams, you're right. Like there is a possibility of us kind of like seeing through other dimensional states. We can see things. We can see things differently. I remember like in a dream that I had like not too long ago where and I've talked about this before, yeah, where like you sometimes you can experience like psychedelics within a dream and things like that, and then like sometimes like that will change the vision within your dream. But yeah, no, it's fascinating and yeah, I think it's really interesting just to be able to think about dimensions in general as like an exercise for the mind. So thank you, Byron, for sharing. And is there anything else you want to share at the moment? And
if the talking stick wants to be passed around, I've been talking for a while, but I have other things I can talk about. Pretty interesting stuff. But yes, it's whenever. But it's whenever. It doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to be able to check in with Jesse because I know Jesse, do you have to head out soon? Just give me a thumbs up if you have to head out soon. Yeah. Okay. Did you want to share something before you head out? If you would like to, and I'll just go ahead. I'll pull the microphone up on your end. Jesse, go ahead, man. You can talking sticks in your hand. So.
Okay. All right. Then I'll just share my two ideas or two experiences of dream state. So the first one, which I was going to mention, was the sleep paralysis that happened to me a while back, and this is just interesting for anybody to hear. And while I was sleeping, I had this lady touch my cheek, and she said something to me that was pretty personal. I don't think I want to say what she said, so I'll just leave that out of the story. And after she touched my cheek like this, like with her hand, I woke up, and there she was standing in my room, like in a white dress. And I was just like, oh. And then I started like squinting and looking. I'm like, I thought it was my mom. Like, I'm like, Mom, what are you doing standing in the middle of my room? And then she just slowly disappeared. And then after that, I'm just left shocked about the whole experience, not kind of wanted to turn the lights on and having trouble falling back asleep again. So that's just really cool. It doesn't happen as much anymore, and it's happened before. Like other times were even scarier, like because they weren't ladies in white. They were like there's some man in a hat or something. I'm like, what the anyways, I'll go back to speaking about my father, which is also a really good topic because I just had a dream about him last night. He's been he's been in my dreams more often now. Like he passed away 5 years ago. So I think it's happening more now. Anyways, um, just going back to that topic. So this is a big one because I think family members is a huge topic in dreams. Like family members are really important. Like they're kind of like the least. Like we'd rather hang out with our friends, right? But I've noticed that my relationship isn't really good with my family. Well, it could be better. You know, I kind of ran away from them, but uh, yeah, my dad. He passed away like 5 years ago. Like I said already, um, he didn't have a really good death because he did commit suicide, and I sort of accepted everything that happened because his body was so damaged by drugs that it was like his only way out, kind of. So when I see him in my dreams now, I'm always so perplexed at the fact that he's there, and I'm like, in that state, I'm like, okay, he's alive. Like it's a total realization that he's alive. But I'm also kind of like trying to figure out what is my responsibility now of knowing that he's alive. And it's really hard for me to like interact with him because in the dreams because he is like kind of all over the place. And I always feel like I'm not doing the best I can. You know, I could be a better person to make up for the life he had, and I guess he's also feeling bad for the life that he inflicted on us, right? So I feel like if I really like figure all this out, I think I will evolve in my physical life a lot. Because if I kind of put this to the side, like I did before, I was just like, okay, he died. I got to move on with my life. You know, life goes on. Then things in my subconscious are going to keep bothering me in unknown ways. So, um, yeah, I just had dreams about him recently. And one time when I woke up, I'm like, okay, you know, he was definitely there. I had that experience in my dream where I'm like, wait, you're alive? How is this possible? Kind of thing. But uh, when I woke up from the dream, I was gonna go on and do my business. I work on a farm, so I spend most of the day outside. And as soon as like I'm getting to start working, the thought of him comes up, and I felt literally like he was on the farmland with me after that dream just recently. Like I was working, and after like the thought of him would come up again, and I really think this is a good progress. I think like I'm evolving through this, but you know, I think that's my main, um, you know, like push to actually having control of who I am and what my dreams are going to be made of. I mean, I've also had really good dreams, like where I've done fun stuff, and I guess one time I almost flew and stuff, and things. But this to me is like the most important thing, and then that's what I want to stress too is that family is so important because I didn't like I didn't have a really good relationship with my brother either, and I dreamt about him last night, and we're always like jealous about each other in our dreams, and I think we were arguing about who has a bigger a bigger you know what. It was so dumb. But yeah, just family. That's kind of the topic I want to bring up is family members and the ones that are closest to you because they'll usually be the ones that like will create the most emotion in your dream. At least that's what I find. But there's there's also room for other dreams to happen. Like I said, there's dreams where I have fun and there's also dreams where I meet girls and fall in love and stuff. But the father one seems to be what I have to work on the most, or better myself, because he wants to see me be a better person. He doesn't want to see what he's done in his life affect me negatively for the rest of my life. And I know that it does in ways that I'm not even aware of. So um, that's what I want to share. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jesse. That's very powerful, and yeah, really just honoring the fact that that's like something very personal for you to share. So really, genuinely, thank you for sharing. So yeah,
No problem.
and yeah, no, like absolutely. I think what you're talking about there again is a very relatable topic, right? Because it really kind of opens up this question and this concept of just kind of like the role that a soul has outside of just the physical existence, and thinking about the idea that it can still be a part, that a person who has passed on can still be a part of a physical person's life. And when they come in through our dreams, yeah, it's very, very interesting. And you're right, it's always something to be able to observe, and those dreams always do oftentimes stand out to us. And whether we're just like seeing them purely just in a state of gratitude, or whether we're seeing them as something that's like driving our own narrative forward, I think it's always important to just be able to take note of them, and yeah, just really be able to be present with it. But yeah, that's really amazing. So Jesse, do you have to head out pretty soon? If you're saying that you might
Yeah, I
have to.
should.
Okay.
I should, just to be.
All right. Well, I was just going to invite you, if you are literally just heading out in this moment, if you just wanted to say goodnight to people, and anything else that you just might want to share before you have to go.
Yeah, this is like my second time. Well, I've been on a few broadcasts, so I just appreciate having something to do on a Thursday night. It's a lot of socializing that I normally wouldn't do on a Thursday night. So
Awesome.
thanks. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Bro.
Cool. Awesome. Sweet. And yeah, just kind of just inviting people in the live chat and things like that. If you guys just have any experiences that you've had, with family members who have passed on, and again, I think that's it's something that I feel like we're all bound to experience in some form or another. And even the idea, and like I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head, but even the idea of like literally like our ancestors coming through in our dreams, like not even just like our grandparents, but like maybe someone even beyond that who might be able to come into our dreams. And so like this kind of opens up into the idea of like what is possible within our dreams. And I want to be able to actually pass the talking stick over to Robert, because I feel he would be able to add into this quite nicely. Just for the people listening to this, I think it's important to be able to think about, why would I want to be able to get interested in dreams? And sometimes it's like, okay, let's sell them on the idea. Here's a list of amazing things that you can do within your dreams, and again, it's like you can go see inside the pyramids of Egypt, you can go visit the Andromeda Nebula, you can ride a dragon, you could like have conversations with people who have passed on, things like that. And also, I just want to be able to get into a little bit of the discussion about what is lucid dreaming, and also tying in specific practical tips for people just to be able to develop their dream practices. But Robert, if that's cool with you, I want to be able to pass the talking stick over to you, and be it from your own experience and your own research, you just share with the audience, almost as a teacher would, in a sense, what are some of the things that are possible within the dream space, so to speak, and yeah, wherever that calls you to. So Robert, is that cool with you? Do you feel like you got something to share there?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Go for it, man.
All right. So what can you do in the dream state? That really comes down to the individual and what your mind believes is possible, because anything is possible. Time travel, visiting other planets, going under the ocean, seeing just anything and being anything is possible. I mean, I've been a werewolf in a dream before, and that's a very unusual experience. I've been an angel before in a dream, to the point to where I was battling bad guys, and rather than destroy them, I uh, I sent them up into the sky and with a lightning bolt, and just weird things. I've battled alien ships. I've walked through walls. I've picked things up in my mind. I've I even had a dream to where I could pull the clouds at me from the sky, and it was funny because people outside were like, "Oh, Robert, stop it!" Like I was playing a prank on them. They were all standing outside on the balcony, and I pulled this big cloud, and it just comes and engulfs them. And it was just kind of a funny thing. You mentioned something a little while ago. You made a comment that could potentially dreams be advanced technology. I think it could be, and I think that really comes down to how much respect you give your dreams. You see, I found this whole broadcast and most of you through the 1111 movement. Now, we've been seeing our clocks, we've been seeing times our entire life, but those numbers didn't become magical until you started giving them the respect that they need. And even though we're still learning what they may represent, the more you focus on it, the more you give it the respect, the more you give it the open-mindedness, the more it gives back to you, the more it comes to you. And I think that also applies to dreams. When you wake up from a dream, if you just dismiss it as just, as just a dream, then your encounters with them are going to be, I don't know, it's just going to be random. That's the best way I can say it. It's just going to be random events. But when you look at each dream, even the ones you don't understand, even the ones that could potentially be nightmares, and you take a step back and try to pick them apart and look at what's going on in your life, you could probably find messages. I'll give you a little brief example. I had a dream 2 nights ago. I was actually extremely frustrated. I even made a big post, kind of talking about my frustrations openly to everybody about things the spirituality just not coming to life quick enough for me. And then I went to sleep, and to me, dreams is what communicates, I don't know, the universe, God to me. So when I say God, I don't expect it to be in a form necessarily of vocal. I usually anticipate it to be in a form of a dream. And I had what you would consider a nightmare. I had a dream that this bad demon was flying around, and he was going to kill me. And the only way to really stop him was to play music. And it answered my question. I woke up. It was like, play music or die trying. Just do it. Just go and do that rather than look at it as a nightmare. Well, I took that in and I allowed it, and it soothed me. But with that being said, I received a message the very next day from a friend of mine that works on the originals and Vampire Diaries, and they're producing a new show called Cypher's Bayou. And we worked together before playing music at the convention, doing random songs, nothing big. But now that dream happened, and the next thing you know, I'm being invited to produce music for this next television show that's going to be replacing the originals and the Vampire Diaries. And it's just like it lines up. It lines up. You also asked, it goes back probably about 30 minutes ago, you asked, what's the most memorial dream that we've ever had? I wanted to mention one. This dream was so special to me that I even titled it. I called it God's Roller Coaster. I don't have any other dreams where I've ever given them a title. And this dream started with me being in this big field at basically a bus stop bench. But there was no bus stop. It was just a bench out in the middle of nowhere. And there was 2 other people there. I don't know who they were. They really had no important part to play in this. But I looked at one of them, and they were looking at a specific spot in the cloud. Now, this was taking place during the day in the dream. He was looking at a specific spot in the cloud, and his eyes turned really blue. And it's basically this person just went on a trip within their mind. And so I looked up at the exact same spot. Now, I have blue eyes, but the best way to describe these blue eyes would be for anyone who's ever watched Game of Thrones and have seen the White Walker kings, how dark blue their eyes were, how glowing that was. Well, this happened to my eyes too, by looking at this one spot in the sky. And the best way I could describe it is I felt God's presence. and my body started rotating backwards. Keep in mind, I'm sitting on a bench. My body started rotating backwards like I'm falling back, but it wasn't in a one quick falling motion. It was like it was like being on a roller coaster and the ride starts tilting you backwards. And I did a complete 360 spin. And when the spin finished, I was in the clouds. I mean, half my head was in the clouds and the other half was outside of it. And I said, oh man, I need to get down from here. This is pretty high up. And the next thing you know, usually when I have dreams of flying, I have control of that, but I had no control of this. I was being guided kind of like a roller coaster. I was flying from the clouds down to earth, and I was flying over terrain, valleys, trees. It was the most beautiful, peaceful thing ever. And there was not a single human, not a single building in sight. And I was able to land after a few minutes of experiencing this, and I was able to get back on the ride 3 more times. So that's why I call it God's roller coaster. And a lot of my family members are very religious, and they don't believe in any of this spirituality, and that causes a lot of conflict. And one that's really caused the most conflict is with my brother, to the point we grew up really close, and we've had to pretty much block each other just because it's that hostile. And in this dream, he kind of sat down, and I had him kind of sit in the same spot I did. I kind of had him do everything I did. And he had the sarcastic thing, like, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna work. And he sat down and he looked up at the sky, same spot, the same thing, and his eyes turned blue. And for me, looking at him, all I can see is his eyes turn blue. I don't see him doing the 360 spin and flying through it. But a couple of minutes later, he snapped out of it, and he had these tears in his eyes, and he looked at me and he said, "You're right." And that was very special for me. And I woke up and I told everyone about that dream. I titled the dream, and then I just started hoping that later on my brother finds that peace that he experienced within that dream. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of awesome experiences. And I believe the more we allow the dreams to have power, the more that we're going to get back from them. But do you have any questions you want to ask me?
Thank you for sharing, first off. And yeah, absolutely. I did want to be able to again, like, for the audience's sake, bring this back to practical tips and techniques that they can use to integrate and take with them from this broadcast. Again, be it for people who may be entirely new to this topic, and people who may be already advanced, and something that maybe they haven't even thought of. Because I think when it comes to your dream practice, it's good to be creative, and that comes in terms of like being able to do particular reality checks that work for you, being able to be aware of, like, even different, like, alarm clock methods and sleep patterns and things like that. But yeah, Robert, like, for you, even from your own personal practice, what are some things that have worked for you that you would be able to pass on to some of the listeners?
One thing that works for me consistently, and when I read other people's journey, it kind of seems to be a natural thing a lot of people have. If you're staying in a very humid environment, you can have dreams, but to be able to have a lucid dream may become a little bit more difficult. My best advice, if you want to try to create this for yourself, I don't necessarily think going to sleep at any specific time or waking up and going back to sleep is necessarily going to play a big factor. I think it's all kind of luck based in the end. But I do find that when I sleep when it's really cold, make it extremely cold, something about breathing in cold air, but having enough blankets to stay extremely warm, but just being able to breathe in that cold air in the middle of the night, for some reason, that just sets it off almost every single time for me. And it's just that simple. Have a very cold room, but have a lot of blankets to make sure you're comfortable during that. And I have a lucid dream almost every single time I put myself in that condition. But that's ultimately the only, when I go to bed, I don't necessarily go to bed with the intention all the time with the intention of I'm going to have a lucid dream. I go to bed sometimes asking for them, but most of the time I go to bed waiting to see the adventure that I'm about to have. I try not to tell myself it's going to be this or that. I want to have this or that, because you never know. I would never in my mind have ever created this idea of God's roller coaster in my head. It's just kind of happened. So yeah, I don't always lay down and think, I want to dream about making money. I want to dream about this. I usually allow it to take control over me. And I try to experience that, because I feel like I'm talking like it's another being or something, but that's kind of how it feels to me. I kind of treat it like it's a take control of me, show me what I need to be. And if it's a nightmare, what can I learn from it? If it's this, what can I do from it, rather than trying to control it. But yeah, going back to just having a very cold room, I think is a start. Try that. And I think that's pretty much all I have for that, honestly.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that the idea of like having a cold space being a way to be able to like in like yeah affect dream recall and dream experiences. How about like dream journal for you? Like when you wake up in the morning, what do you usually do to be able to like record your dreams and practice your recall?
This is going to sound like an ego kind of trip here. I think if you wake up and you have a hard time remembering your dreams, journals is fine. I've never owned a journal. For me, I have the worst memory when it comes to a lot of normal things, but when it comes to dreams, I don't know, just something about it. It sticks with me. Like my entire, I wake up and my entire day consists of me generally thinking about that dream that I had. So I don't necessarily have to write it down, because I'm just consistently thinking about it. But pushing me aside, I do think waking up and start writing it out is the best thing to do, because especially if we're getting into this, because not only are you going to discover things, you're going to be able to look at it, and you're not always going to be able to remember a dream that you had today versus a month from now, that same dream. But if you start documenting it, keep in mind, I don't necessarily do this, but I recommend it. If you start documenting it, you'll start seeing different events that you may not even notice. Over time, you may be able to look at it from a month ago and say, oh, well, what I'm experiencing now relates to what happened a month ago. Or this person, if you find a partner that you love in the dream, we always, sometimes you have those partners where you find someone you love and you wake up and you're like, oh man, they're gone. Well, wake up and write as many details about that person that you can remember, and go about your life. You'd be surprised that person may walk right past you in the grocery store, and you probably wouldn't even remember. But if you can write down the details, everything you can remember, that person may be special to you. And this isn't so much to do with the dreams, but to do with that. Don't ever be afraid to go out and talk to people. I'll give you an example. I just messaged someone today, and I generally don't go out of my way to message people. It's just kind of strange. But I messaged someone and I invited them to my Facebook, and I should be a stranger to this person, and so therefore it should just be a quick hi, thank you for adding me kind of thing. But this person is tuning in to this broadcast right now. It went from a simple I don't know this person to inviting them to the next thing. We're discussing spirituality. Things don't happen by accident. And so you have these dreams of these people coming into your lives, or this money coming into your lives. Document it and keep a mental note of it, because it will come into your life if you believe it will come into your life.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that idea of thinking about how synchronicities take place both within the physical reality and in the dream space. So if we're really anchoring into this very powerful idea, and it's one that I've talked about before within this community and in this broadcast, but it's this idea of like, this is the perfect reality. And what I mean by that is like, consider some sort of quantum flux of how things are happening right now. But out of all those possible equations, the one we're in right now is like the best one, the quote unquote best one for our soul growth. And therefore, everything that happens is happening as like a part of something that's already connected to the future in that sense. And so, yeah, it's really fascinating. You're right, to be able to think about, being able to look at dreams as synchronicities, as, you know, just like the way how things connect, you know, beyond this present moment. But yeah, definitely, I think it's really important for people to be able to practice their dream recall in a way that works for them. Like anything else, it's a muscle. So if you know, if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing. And sometimes that can happen for people, where they'll go through their periods of time where they'll be really good at writing down their dreams, and then life will take over, and then they won't do it for a while, and they'll kind of like they kind of lose it. But then it's something that you can gain back. So the good news is that, you know, for anybody listening to this, it is something that can be developed, especially for people who say, like, you know, I don't dream. Fact of the matter is, like, everybody dreams. It's just a matter of whether or not you recall it. And it's funny when you talk to people about dreams, sometimes they'll say those, be like, oh, I don't dream, you know. But again, that's just kind of like this overview of like where we as a culture have kind of used our language to kind of like hide our dreams underneath a layer of like dirt, and you know, so we kind of got to like move the dirt around and kind of like bring that up to the surface, and that's what we do through these conversations in a lot of ways. But yeah,
I'd like to mention one more thing.
Yeah, no, dude, totally, absolutely, and we'll pass the talking stick around for a few more people, guys. I'm okay going over the 2 hour, and then we'll get into the well, let's focus on like practical things, a few more stories if you guys want to share them, and then we'll get into the closing meditation, and then we'll wrap it up. But yeah, go right ahead, Robert. That's cool.
I just wanted to mention a dream that I had actually last night, and you remember I mentioned one of the very first things of being able to start studying the dream from within. You know, that started taking place about 2 years ago, and the more you start having lucid dreams, like you just mentioned, like a muscle, and just kind of all came into my mind. You're right. The more you practice this, the stronger it becomes. Last night in my dream, and this isn't just last night. It's kind of been the past 5 lucid dreams, but we'll just talk specifically about last night. I had a dream that I was flying around. I knew it was a lucid dream, but I started finding people in the dream, and I started talking to them like, hey, do you know this is a dream, to see what they would say. And then I would start trying to fly around, show off a little bit. Hey, can you do this? No, you can't. You know, just kind of, I don't know, showing off. But it's very interesting because it went from just having the experience of a lucid dream, which is fun. And then it transformed into studying in the lucid dream. And then now, and I keep in mind, this has been going, I've had lucid dreams since a kid, but I haven't had super lucid dreams, not until probably around 4 or 5 years ago. In the past 2 years, they've developed so much. And I feel like they're consistently evolving somewhere. I don't know where, but they're evolving. And so for me now, it's like in my dream, I'm attempting to make contact with somebody. I'm telling people, this is my name. Do you know who I am? Try to contact me when you wake up. And it's just interesting. Like, it may not really tie in anything, but it's just the point that the more you do it, the more freedom you start having, the more thoughts you start having while you're there, and the more you start trying to do things that you might think you shouldn't be able to do, like trying to get people to contact you when they wake up to see if they can remember what you just did. And that just continuously gets stronger and stronger and stronger the more you do it. That's just a unique thing I wanted to share.
Totally. Yeah, definitely, man. And again, you know, like, as much as we can talk about within this broadcast, there is a lot more to this discussion to be had. And, you know, I'm just like, even as you're saying things, just like ideas are kind of rolling through my head, and I'll hit upon a couple of them. We'll get into some more practical tips. I want to be able to, Amanda, Byron, if you guys have any practical tips that you guys want to share, please feel free. And Byron, I think you mentioned that you did have another story that you wanted to be able to share as well, if you still want to do that. But, you know, one of the things that's crossed my mind recently is this idea of, we kind of talked about it earlier, but, you know, it's this idea of like other conscious entities being able to contact us through the dream space. And what I was thinking about recently, and this is not a new thought, but, you know, it's this idea of like aliens, and people are like waiting for aliens to contact us and for, you know, disclosure to happen, and we're just you know, we know they're out there, and we're just like, how is it happening, when's it going to happen, sort of thing. I think that, like, realistically, contact will happen through inner space. It already is happening, but I think it will continue to develop more so through inner space. So again, this is kind of like where it's like, if you're looking for the evolution of consciousness, it's literally happening within. It's literally happening in our ability to navigate the inner world. And that's where I think dream practice goes hand in hand with like deeper states of meditation. Because again, you know, as you can begin to become like more present with your state in this waking life, then you can become more present with the state in the dream space. And then you can get more present with the state within like the meditation states. But I think it's like super fascinating to even just open up to the discussion, maybe a little bit here, and maybe Robert has something to share on this, and I know other people in the chat have had their own experiences, but you know, literal experiences of people who have like had contact with quote unquote aliens within their dreams. And again, you know, like these aliens, what we think of as aliens, could literally just be like higher dimensional beings. But then it gets into this idea of like, you know, maybe there are humanoids in the Andromeda galaxy who like observe us as we sleep, sort of thing, or they observe they have that degree of perception to be able to integrate their consciousness into the space that we exist within when we're dreaming, and then they can actually like make contact with us. And so again, you know, there's many degrees in which we can approach dreams, but I think and this is kind of just, I'm hitting upon a couple topics at once here, but I think with dreams, you really have the opportunity to look at them as a sacred ceremony in which the universe has an opportunity to communicate to you through the language of symbols. And that's exactly how I describe tarot. That is exactly how we think of divination in that sense. And so, you know, again, it's kind of like being open to it while also kind of having the intention. And this is where Robert was talking about, you know, kind of show me what I need to see as you kind of go into the dream. But I think it's also interesting when you get into the idea of really being able to ask the universe something before going to sleep. Like if you're at that state, think about that idea where if you're seeking guidance on something, you can literally communicate that to the universe as you go to sleep, and you might be able to receive a degree of information about that. You might be able to receive some sort of answer related to that, or some sort of guidance related to that. So, you know, dreams as a part of who we are, as a natural part of the human experience, gift us the ability to literally be able to help guide us by giving us foresight, by giving us premonition. That's what that Thunderbird was talking about, you know, within this practice. And so like think about how you can begin to use dreams as a practical thing. But I think like those abilities are something that are there, but they have to be worked towards. They are something that we have to earn, and we earn those through will and through discipline and through consistency, and by like really approaching dreams with that degree of respect. Because if you're just like, you know, like whatever, you know, not in the sense of like, you know, there's a difference between show me what I need to see versus just like whatever. You know, if people are just like, I don't care about dreams, and they may not even be doing it consciously, it may be a subconscious programming, you know, then the dreams are just going to be like, okay, here's another dream of like really just bizarre things, or you at work again or something like that, right? But as you start approaching dreams and you start communicating with dreams and you literally start putting out that intention, then the universe acknowledges that and starts delivering more things to you as you start asking for them and as you begin to become ready for them. So again, there's like this subtle conversation that is happening between our souls and the universe, and and that conversation is showing up like within our dreams, like in a very, very literal way. So, I mean, again, you know, dreams are fascinating. And again, you know, I know I just kind of hit upon that idea of like talking to aliens within dreams and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, I think there's definitely something to that. But you know, are we aliens? I don't know, man. What do you think? What? But anyways, let's just pass the talking stick around. I want to be able to Amanda, Byron, give me a thumbs up if you guys have anything you want to share, or let me just even check in. Even Robert, did you want to reply real quick to like anything that I just said real quick before we pass it over to them? And if so, just unmute your microphone, and if not, then we'll pass it over to them, and whatever's cool with you guys. I know, but okay, we'll pass it over to. Oh, okay, yeah, Robert, go ahead, real quick, and then we'll pass it over to Byron as well. So,
hey guys, I'll make this super quick.
No problem.
I've had dreams of aliens, but I do believe that those were dreams. But in my mind, though, I have this belief that sometimes aliens and spirits aren't very different. I just look at them as extra dimensional beings.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have had dreams of these beings, and they often show up invisible. And my first instinct, and this will be quick, my first instinct is to think that they're a ghost and fear them and try to run away, and it's a nightmare. But there's been a few dreams where I've approached them, overcome my fears and approached them and listened to them. And the fear that I had went away, and then this just overwhelming love came over me. But what was interesting, and this could be, I can come back to this later, is they all have something to share. I started asking them about life after death. Is heaven or hell real? Different questions about this kind of stuff. And they all had very unique answers. And so I'll just leave it there. It's just basically the point is I have had them. And if you can have the courage to talk to them, sometimes they're invisible. They will feed you information, very vital information. The reason why they come off scary is it's more of a test. Everything is a test. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but it generally comes off. If you're afraid of them, then you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to run. They're going to go on. But if you can overcome that and speak to them, they will show you. They will guide you. So I'll leave it there. I'll let someone else talk.
That's good. Awesome, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I definitely agree with you on that point. And again, you know, like we didn't get into it in this broadcast, but like even the concept of nightmares, I think that same idea applies. Is that, you know, nightmares aren't there to torture us; they're there to teach us. And if we have like recurring nightmares, and there was even a conversation just in the chat, if I can scroll up and find it real quick, where Crystal Wolf, who had left comments earlier, said, my first nightmare was my most memorable at age 6 because I learned to fight it back by summoning a hero that I favored. So again, you know, like anytime, for anybody experiencing this, if you're like in a place in the future where you have nightmares, or if you've had nightmares in the past, those are lessons. And oftentimes like they're teaching us of how to be able to like regain our sovereignty, to regain control in that sense. And there's just a general idea, and I'll pass it over to Byron right after this, is, you know, within dreams, I've said this before, you know, like dreams show us other parts of ourselves. And there's parts where like sometimes within dreams where we're almost observing ourselves follow through with actions, almost as if we're observing ourselves in a movie or something like that. And that can be a very powerful thing. And I'm just planting the seed to invite people to be able to think about, you know, how dreams can show us the good parts of ourselves and the bad parts of ourselves, the heroes and the villains. And obviously I use the term good and bad, and like, you know, it's not like an absolute thing. But, you know, in that sense, we can see the parts of ourselves that may be like super fucking bad, sorry, my language, super badass and courageous. And we wake up in the morning, we're like, oh my God, like that's me, like that's inside of me, that's a part of me. And then other times in dreams, we might see a dream where we like, you know, treat our friend like, you know, really badly or something like that. And then we might wake up and be like, whoa, you know, like that's also in me, but I want to be able to heal it. I want to be able to like resolve it. And I want to be able to like, you know, like do what I can to do the work as well. So I mean, you know, dreams will show us the beautiful sides of ourselves. They'll show us the messy sides of ourselves, but it's all growth, you know, especially if we are showing up as students from that perspective of being able to see it as lessons in that moment. Byron, let me pass the talking stick over to you, and thank you for waiting patiently, dude. Go right ahead, Byron.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you just helped me out, I think, with my schizophrenia just by talking about nightmares. And
Oh yeah.
I realize now I haven't had a hallucination of my brother or dad yelling at me in a very long time. And it's because I've learned to not, like, I exiled my family for about a few months this year, and it was hard. But I'm slowly introducing them back into my life now. And it's like I've learned not to care what they think I should be doing with my life. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, I haven't heard the yelling in months. And I think it's been a fundamental core thing. I think dreams and nightmares help anyone do that. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about either dreams of the future that I've had, or mystery card, or DMT. So you tell me. Mystery card.
Mystery
I'll
card. Okay, let's
Okay.
go with the mystery card, and if there's time, we can do the DMT. So
Okay, so
always time for DMT.
I was manic earlier in June, pretty bad, and I had a new experience that is described as synesthesia. And I looked up the definition for those that don't know. It's a perceptual phenomenon in which stimulation of one or one sensory or cognitive pathway leads automatic involuntary experiences to another sensory or cognitive pathway. So if you see the number 3, you'll think of the color red or something. But for me, I could see sound, and it was very trippy. And it ties in, I think, from DMT. It's just like a flashback in a way of it, like it's an echo of it. And for me, violins, I had to look at a conversation I was having with friends because I haven't had the synesthesia since I've not been manic, which is healthier for me. But I had violins were gold, string instruments ranged from lime green to gold red, like very bright. Deep bass shakes were dark green or slightly navy, and trumpets were high pitched brass were bright and white and violet. And for DMT, dimethyltryptamine, it's known as a spirit molecule also. I tried it only one time in my life, and it was like 3 years ago, and it only lasts for 10 or 15 minutes like it should have. I didn't break through like they said, but I have a lot of memory of it, and I see light differently at odd angles now. Like it's like a prism. So I'll just put it like this. Ever since I tried this stuff, I've drawn abstracts. You have to look at it, but they're very odd abstracts that people told me Aborigines look like. And if I look directly into the light of if I try to stare at the light, I imagine it looks like one of my mandalas. Like here's a paper plate mandala I drew with a permanent marker. And that's what it feels like to me. And as a side note, those paper plates are the heads of some of my aliens in my kids' book. But the dream of the future I really wanted to talk about is you were talking about entities, or is it Rob? I'm sorry. Yeah, Rob. You're talking about like invisible entities, and I have that too. I see them transparent or invisible, and in my dreams, and it feels like they're asking me questions. Let me say, I wrote it down. The future's present will be what they are explaining what the future's present will be, and told me that I cannot remember long term or waking up after I wake up, I can't remember. And like for that future present idea, it's basically I'm a search engine for them, and I'm by a search engine where they're telling me all like way advanced technology that exists and how I would react to it, and they're asking for my pull on what I would do. And and I've had other dreams where I've walked around and I look at pictures on the wall and they start moving. They start moving like the Harry Potter portraits in Hogwarts, or Kanye West made a music video called Power, and that's like a moving painting. And and it's so weird because it's come true now, basically. It's just a matter of how cheap monitors can be. But my wife takes pictures of our son, and they're little like animated GIFs or WebMs of him moving around for a few seconds, and it's on a loop. And I found that fascinating that it's coming true. Like it's just a matter of time. We're not, and that's like deja vu reminds me of a forgotten dream. It feels like in deja vu that I've all of a sudden entered back in my dream when I've had it. And that's I don't know. Like I know I have to tether myself when I'm in a dream. I have to actually ask myself, am I actually feeling something? I look around the room. I'll say, is that something I'm imagining, or is that something I'm actually seeing that's beyond my imagination at that point? What's loading in this screen? And that's about all I can share with dreams right now. But I'll take
awesome.
questions or go from there.
That's awesome, Byron. Thank you so much for sharing. No, I think that's fascinating. Did anybody else, Robert or Amanda, did you guys want to comment on anything that Byron said? If you guys want to, you're more than welcome. I know Robert was just saying like that's awesome in the chat as well, but yeah, no, I definitely hear you, man. So Cool. All right. Robert, did you want to say something to Byron?
I was just gonna say something real quick because I know the lady's been waiting. Um, when I grew up, man, when I started seeing spirits and whatnot, nobody in my family believed it. And my family made me see doctors. I had to see psychologists. They asked me to write all this stuff down. They took me to see religious leaders, and everyone made me feel weird. The judgment that I had on myself was this was a curse. But the more that we evolve, the more that these things make us unique. I don't mean better than anybody, but unique and different. And I'm glad that now in your life, you're starting to see these things happening. You're starting to see, and if you can be excited about that and you can be honored by that, then it's going to be an easier transition in the future. And the easier that becomes, the more powerful you're going to be. And these stories that you're having and these things coming out, I don't think they're a curse. I don't think they're bad. They are only that if you choose for them to be. I think what you're experiencing is unique, and that's awesome. And that's all. That's all I want to say.
That's awesome. Thank you, Robert, for saying that. Very well said. Byron, did you just want to reply to Robert?
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. It was, yeah, and I forgot what you said. A key word there. I forgot what word it was, but I can't remember what I was going to go with it, man. I should have wrote it down. That's why I write down everything.
That's awesome. But yeah, no, I absolutely right. Like again, like all of these parts of ourselves just make us who we are, and again, and I think it's really important to be able to understand that, like Robert was saying, it's only a curse if you see it as one. And to be able to like really like work with these gifts, and sometimes like that's what happens, like we'll be given, like a lot of people who are empaths and things like that, they'll just be like, it might take them a while to kind of like calibrate themselves, but that is the learning experience. And as multidimensional beings, we're very complex, and I think there's a lot of excitement behind the mystery of like where that potential leads. So like in a good environment, in with the support of community, which is exactly what we're creating here, I think it's very powerful to be able to encourage each other to keep developing these gifts, to be able to continue these practices, and to explore these further, not just for ourselves, but to be able to like show up into our communities, and help know that like if we're experiencing this, then that means that there's going to be other people who are younger than us who are going to be experiencing this as well, and they're going to need people who are going to like who they're going to need people to help guide them. They're going to need to be like teachers, as they're going to need teachers as well. So our experiences are not just our own, and what we are doing right now is helping the generations to come, literally just by talking about this. Like that is incredibly important, and sometimes we kind of overlook how important it is, but literally just having these conversations, getting this into the lexicon of society is incredibly important, because we need to be having these conversations in more places, for more people to be able to understand and relate to. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to pass. I want to be able to check in. Amanda, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. I want to be able to invite you to be able to share anything you feel called to share, as well as any, again, practical tips for people who are tuned into this. And for people in the live chat, please feel free to leave any comments, feedback, how just let us know like what some of the conversations in this, how they resonate with you. Your interactions in the live chat is definitely acknowledged as well. So, Amanda, we'll pass it over to you, and just a quick shout out. We did have a new player who joined the game. So Nick, just a thumbs up to you, dude. Good to see you, dude. Awesome, man. Meow, meow. And I did just want to remind everybody who's in this broadcast, if you guys haven't yet, please, in the Google Hangouts chat, and even for anybody in the live chat on YouTube, please feel free to leave your contact information, be it your Facebook profile, or even if you have your own YouTube channel, please drop those, and then people in here can connect with you that way. Because Robert, I just wanted to make sure that we're connected after the chat as well. And so Amanda, let me pass the talking stick over to you. And again, at this point, just kind of inviting you to share what you feel called to share. Really, again, from that place of almost like wisdom sharing for the people out there who, maybe kind of like interested in still learning about what this topic is all about and how to incorporate it into their own experience of reality. So Amanda, let me just pull up your microphone and passing the talking stick over to you, and go right ahead. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so gosh, there's so many things that you guys have been talking about, and I'm like just trying to kind of process it all. Okay, so first of all, as a wisdom speaker, a sharer, one of the things that I feel like we haven't really talked enough about is when you're doing lucid dreaming and astral projection, one of the things that you can do is visualize like a silver thread, or they call it like the umbilical cord or whatever. So basically, you have like this cord or rope between your physical body and your non-physical astral body, that keeps you anchored. And so that's something that's somewhat important. I guess I wouldn't say I've practiced that much, because I did astral projection before I even knew what it was, and like didn't practice safe astral projection, if you will. So that is one thing that if you are at all afraid, you can use that as a tool to anchor you to your physical body. So if you're afraid that you're just going to float off into the cosmos or whatever, you can use that silver thread. Or so Donnie Darko, everyone's hopefully seen that movie because it's amazing. There's like that kind of weird umbilical thread between you and your physical body. Okay, and so then the next thing I wanted to talk about was a dream that I wasn't even planning on sharing, but I think it was Robert was talking about something, or somebody was talking about something that totally reminded me of it, and I was like, oh my god, I have to share this dream. So I think it was when we were talking about the aliens, or how, you know, aliens can come into our dreams and stuff like that. So I don't know if this was an alien. I don't know if it was a spirit guide, whatever. But I had a dream, let's see, 4 years ago, let's just say. And in the dream, I was at a party, and I was just kind of like shuffling through the party. All the people were there, just whatever's going on. It's kind of chaos and madness. And I just remember at one point seeing a screen, like a computer screen on the wall. Maybe it was a TV screen, I don't know. But I remember just being like tapped into the TV screen and like looking at it, and everyone else was like doing party stuff, and they're like, why are you so focused on the screen when you could be partying with us? And I was like, well, I'm learning. I have to, like, this is my opportunity right now. This is in front of me. I have to focus on it. And then I remember going through like a weird tent tunnel kind of thing, like kind of like what I'm in right now. It's kind of weird. But anyways, going through like a tent tunnel. And I remember my daughter, Maya, she was in the tent, and I remember just being like, why is she at this party? It's kind of weird. Like, people are doing all kinds of party things. Like, this is not an environment for a child. But regardless, just like kind of recognizing that she was there, and whoever like else was there, like my friends and stuff. And I just remember keep thinking, like, there's all these windows or these screens. Like, look in this tent that I'm in right now, actually. It's kind of weird because I'm like feeling like I'm in that dream as I'm speaking. It's weird. I'm sorry. But there's like windows, or there's like, you can focus on this screen at this one moment, and it's teaching you something, whatever. Anyways, so the big takeaway from this dream was, at the end of the dream, everybody had been doing like DMT and Molly and psychedelics all night long. They were all finally passed out. Everybody's asleep. And I'm like tiptoeing around all the sleeping bodies. And I go outside and I'm like, God, this is so weird. Why am I awake? Why am I the only one that's awake? And all these bodies, I mean, like, they're all naked and stuff. Who knows what they've been doing all night? And I just remember the sun is coming up, and I look up on this weird crest. I know there's like a hot tub, there's a pool. It's, who knows? I'm like in a mansion or something. And on this crest, I look up and I see this like owl figure, and it's like hooded owl figure, and it takes off its hood and it shakes its feathers, and it's just like all the feathers like fall off, and it's like this human, and it looks at me, and it's just like this weird like interaction of just, and I'm like looking around, I'm the only one that sees this being, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is like an owl person. Like it was so cool. Anyways, it was one of those things where I just like have never forgotten it ever since. And it was like everybody else was asleep and I'm like tiptoeing around them. And that's how I kind of feel in day-to-day life sometimes, and I'm sure you guys can relate. Like sometimes you just feel like you're tiptoeing around these asleep people. And even though we're trying to awaken consciousness and whatnot, we still have to be, what's the word, like, courteous or whatever. Like so we still have to fit into society in some way or another. And that's still where I feel like I'm trying to figure out my place. And that dream was just, there's so many elements of that dream that I'm just like, wow, there's a lot to it, And I don't know if that creature was an alien. There's movies I've seen since that talk about like the whole owl alien thing or whatever. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was a spirit guide. It didn't even speak to me. All it did was like shake and like reveal itself to me. And I was like, what? So yeah. Sorry, I just went off on a tangent. Let me think if there, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about. Oh, and then in that dream as well, so the Akashic records apparently are available in your dream state. And so that may be what I was trying to tap into. Like, I don't know, when I was like looking at the screens and through windows and whatnot, I like to believe I was trying to learn some ancient wisdom. I was trying to learn the Akashic records, and now that I know that that's what's available in dreams, I'm like, that's probably what I was doing. So let's see.
To share for people?
Well, I haven't been very good about it lately, but I mean, there's definitely those tips of like, dream journal, keep a book by your bed, write down as soon as you possibly can, because that's the problem about doing psychedelics frequently. And in those dreams, things just kind of like open up. And then I do know I was walking on a road recently by a lake, and I was like, I totally dreamed this on psychedelics one time. Like it was a psychedelic dream. And in my sober life, I was walking down the street and was just like, this was that road in my dream where I was on psychedelics. It's weird, but
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then also what I was going to say is like you were commenting on the ambience of where I'm at right now. So you can hear the crickets, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. We can.
Those crickets give me fractals every night. Like when I'm like in my half awake, half dream state, I'm just like the fractals are, it's like one of those computer programs.
Yes.
It's so weird. Like the way that their music affects me is like a fractal. It's so weird.
I can feel it just listening to them like through the
It's
speakers
like
and
a
stuff.
vibration. It's just like
Yeah,
zoom,
you
zoom,
can
zoom.
oh, I feel it.
This is why people like to like listen to those I don't know, like the white noise and like the apps and stuff that like you can listen to crickets when you
Oh
go to sleep.
yeah.
Like I'm lucky.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, Amanda. I really appreciate what you bring to the circle always. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you. And again, you know, like, yeah, sleeping outside is like a whole thing in itself, right? Like if you're looking to kind of like tap into the natural psychedelic experiences within this reality, like dreams in themselves are a psychedelic experience. And so if you can find ways to kind of like foster that, you know, like that's being out in nature, just literally like forest bathing, you know, we keep talking about that, like that's incredibly powerful. So, you know, if you have the chance, like go out in nature and just like meditate. Maybe you fall asleep, maybe you won't, but just like meditate, and like that in itself is just like a way to be able to like tap into that. But yeah, there's a couple other things. Yeah, I was just gonna hit upon a couple practical tips. I wanted to be able to pass it back to Robert at some point, and then even get Nick just to be able to say hello as well, even though we're at the near tail end of the broadcast. And then we're gonna get into our closing meditation for those of you who have been waiting patiently for that. Thank you as well. And okay, if Nick pops back in, he may be back in. One of the things I was going to mention just related to the dream recall process. Well, let me just think about, okay, any practical tips? Okay, so it talked about it before, moderating cannabis use, something to be aware of. Dream journals, very important. Another thing that I talk about is like not having a big meal before going to sleep. That works for some people, doesn't work for other people. Some people like eating meals before they go to sleep and it affects their dreams differently. The only reason I recommend sometimes not eating a big meal before going to sleep is that like just because there's like subtle energy that our body uses to digest food, and if we're not using that energy to digest food, then that energy can actually go towards like kind of more acute awareness for dreams. Like it's just, again, it's an idea. But then in relation to the recall, it's really important in the morning when you're doing your dream recall to like literally stay as still as you can in the morning while writing down your dreams, because one way to kind of be able to think about this is like, you know, again, we have our physical body and then we have like our astral body, so to speak. And again, that astral body is kind of like the part of us that travels through the higher dimensions and things like that. And so when we wake up in the morning, there's like this, I've kind of talked this before, this like almost like very delicate connection between ourself and like the dream version of us, the dream consciousness of us. And so that cord, if you want to think of it as a cord, it's separate from the silver cord. It's a kind of a different concept, but a little similar. Is very delicate. And so like if you like get up and go to the bathroom, it kind of like pulls the cord, and then, you know, as you're standing there going to the bathroom or sitting, whatever you do, you know, you're just like, why can't I remember my dreams, you know? And that's because like the cord suddenly got pulled. It got pulled too fast. And so you have to kind of wake up in the morning and knowing that that cord's going to get pulled eventually, but before you do it, you want to transcribe those experiences into the physical reality by encoding them with a waking memory, which is like what you do by writing it down, or by creating a video, or by, you know, creating an audio log of it and things like that. So again, just basic practical tip for those of you who may be entirely new to this: when you're in the morning, lay as still as you can, and even do like a retrospective meditation, which is something we talked about in the global meditations, you know, where you're kind of like thinking back as much detail as you can on your dream practices, on your dream that you just woke from, like literally just kind of thinking what's the most recent thing you can remember and trying to go backwards, and then, you know, writing that down when you're ready. But again, even like lying there for a minute before you even write things down, really important. Obvious thing, and this goes outside of dream practice, but, you know, don't have your phone like be the first thing you look at when you wake up. And even late at night, if you're like on your phone late at night, like the light from the phone can affect kind of like the chemicals within the brain and things like that. So if you're like waking up in the middle of the night for whatever reason, maybe you set an alarm on purpose to be able to like help trigger, you know, that waking sort of sleep process, don't check your phone. Don't look at your phone, because if you do that, it's going to kind of like mess up the chemicals and things like that. Again, you know, try it through experience, see what works for you. There's a lot of practical tips. I really would just encourage people to just continue researching these on your own. You don't have to wait to hear them from this broadcast. There's so much information already online. There's lots of books out there. And again, you know, you can get into things like reality checks. What I did want to be able to get into, and this is where I wanted to just be able to ask Robert before we wrap this up, is to just talk a little bit about lucid dreaming. We didn't get so much into astral projection. We were talking about it. Amanda talked about it a little bit. There is like a difference between the two. We can probably save that more for another broadcast, but I did just want to be able to invite Robert, and again, you know, just thank you everyone for being here. Robert, thank you for being here. Your contribution to this broadcast has been greatly appreciated, and just be able to invite you to be able to talk a little bit about, you know, what is lucid dreams. Obviously, real quick, I know it's a big topic and things like that, and you know, what is the experience of a lucid dream like? Because one of the things, and I'll just hit upon this, just kind of like frame it, you know, when people talk about lucid dreams, and this is why dreams are such like a consciousness shifting experience, sometimes they talk about the idea that when you're lucid in a dream, which is like when you're in a dream and you know you're dreaming, you can kind of it's kind of like realer than real in a sense, is sometimes how people explain it. You know, things can become more vivid and things like that. There's something I forgot to say, even though I already did kind of say it earlier, but I just want to say it again and passing the talking stick to Robert right after. It's this idea of, you know, we are the dream awakening to itself. And just sit with that phrase and really think about what it means to you. And then also the intention behind creating these broadcasts in generals is a phrase that I like to use, which is, you know, becoming better dreamers within the dream. Like, that is part of why we do this. That is like our bigger vision of, like, you know, why we are here on earth, to become better dreamers in the dream, to kind of shift from where we're just like passively going along the ride to kind of like co-creating at the same time. And again, and that ties into the idea of lucidity, where you're aware. It has to do with awareness, and lucidity within the waking state and in the dream state. And lucidity in the dream state begins with lucidity in the waking state. And that's why things like meditation are important. That's why walking out in nature and really observing things. Make a practice of observing things in your waking state, almost looking for peculiarities. Look up. Is there a ceiling right now? Look at your fingers. Are they acting weird? You know, check your watch, flick light switches, do things that kind of like check the integrity of this reality. And then those can become habits within your dream state that can also trigger lucidity. But yeah, Robert, passing it over to you. And then right from this, we're going to get into the closing meditation, which will just be no more than 10 minutes. And thank you again, everyone, for being a part of this. So Robert, if you can just tell the audience listening, you know, a little bit about, you know, like, what are lucid dreams, and maybe some ways as to how to be able to move towards that experience for themselves, and also like what that experience has been like for you. You know, if you were to try and explain what a lucid dream felt like, how would you explain it, so to speak? You know, almost from like the perspective of your soul. I know that maybe there's a lot there, but I feel you got something to share either way. So,
well, let me explain this. What is regular dreaming? I mean, there could be multiple answers. Regular dreaming is basically going on a trip that you have no control of. So we'll just simplify that. That's what a dream is. Mm-hmm. Lucid dream is being able to have that experience, but now you're aware that it's happening and you have control over it. Here's a technique that you can do to go from a dream to a lucid dream. This is a very simple technique. It just requires you to remember it, which is not also very easy. Jump. If you can just remember to jump in a dream, you will jump from a regular dream into a lucid dream. And that's generally how I always know, or how I usually take place into a dream. I'll run, I'll go to jump from, I don't know, it would be like a little race, and I'll have to jump in the dirt, and then I will jump in the air, and I'll notice I'll start floating and I won't land. So that's one way you can do it. That's the only way I really know how to go from a dream to a lucid dream. But to go back to the question, lucid dream is just realizing you're there. And once you realize you are there, it feels no different there than it does and the reality in which we're awake right now. It feels absolutely the same. Everything you feel, the wind on your face, that you can, like I said, you can smell pine trees when you fly over them. You can smell the breeze. You can reach down, touch the grass. Like, it feels absolutely real, except you just have this awareness that it's not. Um, and it's I don't know. It's amazing feeling, because when you wake up from it, especially the dreams you've had a chance to fly in. Think about that. I mean, it's one thing to be in an airplane, but it's another to be able to fly around like Superman. And you'll probably, I don't know what the afterlife holds for us in terms of those sorts of abilities, but I believe dreams may be one of the only opportunities for you to truly be anything and everything. Like I said, I was a werewolf in one dream. I was able to fly in another dream. And I've even been a ghost in a dream. So it's like, think about a book or a story. You get a chance to play your part in that. And I don't think there's any other way, anywhere else in the world you'll ever get to experience that other than through a lucid dream. But with that being said, thank you for having me here. This has been awesome. I couldn't have spent a better evening doing anything else. This has been rewarding, and I would love to come back and be a part of your next upcoming shows when you guys do this.
Awesome.
And if you don't have anything else to add to that, I will pass it on to someone else.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think there's always definitely something to add to that, but I think you really hit upon some key points. The idea that dreams have a present moment equally as real as this moment right now. So like, if you're listening to this broadcast and you're awake, which you are, or are you? Check, this moment has a present moment, and you're breathing, you're feeling things. Now imagine, like, in a dream, that is there too. And so when we're not lucid, we aren't always aware of it. We're kind of sleepwalking through our dream. And so it's just kind of like, it opens up a big spectrum of understanding, like what is possible within this reality. Because again, when you understand that there's a present moment in that dream space, you really start to begin to question, like, what is this reality? And again, from my perspective, connect your own dots. It is this idea that, like, this reality too is an extension of the dream space. This reality too is, to just say it is a dream, like, you kind of have to look at it from like the bigger scope of things, but it very much is like this. There is a very prominent dream-like nature to this reality, and sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not. And through the illusions of physicality and things like that, it kind of masks itself, it hides itself from us. But that is there so that we kind of move through this reality with this amnesia. And so when you think about it, in the same way that within dreams, kind of like what Robert was saying, you're in a dream and you're just kind of going along. In the same night within dreams, you're asleep within your dreams. You're sleepwalking within your dream state. And so when you think about it in this reality, a lot of people are also like sleepwalking through their waking state in that sense. So again, as we awaken within our dreams, we awaken in this physical dimension. As we awaken within this physical dimension, we awaken within our dreams. So it's like one and the same. So when we understand that, like, just nurturing that process across the entire spectrum is just like, again, it's uplifting us, but it's uplifting humanity. And this is where you can get into the idea of like the 100 monkey effect. So like, literally by you working on your dreams, you're helping the entire collective. So thank you for doing that, because it is something that at times can be tedious and it will challenge you. And that's the idea, right? Be it just the practice in the waking state, such as the discipline of writing down your dreams, and the discipline of going to sleep at a half decent time, and the discipline of not smoking cannabis and things like that. Allow it to challenge you and allow your willpower to become more refined through that process. Dream practice calls us into a higher state of being, into a higher state of practice of ourselves, and more of who we are as sovereign citizens. And like, that's a key thing, right? What does it mean to be a cosmic sovereign citizen, right? It means to be paying attention to your dreams as a big part of everything. And there's another idea, and I'll just plant the seed because I don't want to get too far into this, but like mystical, like religions and everything like that, mystic societies and stuff like that, they talk about this idea that at the time of death, like, if we practice dreaming within this waking state, it will actually prepare us for when we die. And because when we die, it's literally like entering into a dream. And so think about it. If you enter into death, you can almost enter into death kind of unconsciously, or you can enter into death consciously. And this can kind of get into this idea. And again, I don't even want to talk about it too much, but it's kind of like, you know, what happens after death. And some people talk about the idea of like literally thinking that they will spend their entire life meditating and aligning themselves within this reality to prepare themselves for death as a soul, as a spirit, for that next step of the journey. Because ideally you want to be able to like enter into death like with that higher state of consciousness. And so it's like, what happens if you don't? It's like, you know, there's this idea of like, oh, you know, like maybe you kind of like just get reincarnated and you forget. But if you're conscious, it kind of brings in this idea of like, oh, maybe you can bring your memories with you into the next life. Like, how crazy is that? Like, is that worth all the effort at that time? What if someone literally told you that if you work your ass off, like exploring dreams in this lifetime, that you will remember into the next lifetime? Like, what if that was actually like a guaranteed thing? Would you do it? And I think the mystery of it is kind of like the challenge behind it all, because, you know, we don't know, but at the same time, like that humbles us into just being able to appreciate like the gifts of the present moment through that experience alone. But yeah, dreams are an amazing thing. Keep doing your own research, keep reading up, keep listening to other podcasts if you want to do that as well, and, you know, share. And for everyone in the Paradigm Shift Central project, at the time relative to this broadcast, which is September 21st, happy Peace Day, by the way. Today is World Peace Day, September 21st. Go talk to a stranger and give a free hug and stuff like that. You know, within the Paradigm Shift Central project, through the main website, we have the quest journals. The quest journals are individual blog type entries that we encourage people in the community to create. We're going to be focusing more on those in the future. I want to remind you that those quest journals are also there for you to be able to practice sharing your dreams. So if you want to practice sharing your dreams through a video or through a written document that's like at least like 3 or 4 paragraphs long, please feel free to do that and submit it to a quest journal. Also, we have our Discord chat, and we have our dream team within the Discord chat where we share like dream recall and stuff through there as well. So just know that within the Paradigm Shift Central community, we have like the elements as a community to be able to help support ourselves through this practice. And if you aren't already on the main website, again, paradigmshiftcentral.com, you can create your profile that will get you set up for future broadcasts. And also the Discord server, which is tinyurl.com/paradigm shift chat. And that's like the shortcut that will link you to the Discord server. Information is in the YouTube as well. So again, please feel free to join us there, and let's continue these conversations beyond this broadcast alone. And so as we move into the end of the broadcast, I just want to remind you that the next broadcast after this, which is September 27th, is Spirituality of Ancient Cultures. So I'm really inviting other people to be able to join in that research. Maybe you already know some things, maybe you want to research some things. Join us on the Discord server and let's explore that together. You know, like, yes, this is inviting you to do some homework watching this and to collectively be able to learn, and to also be able to understand more about spirituality in our modern age by studying spirituality of the past as well. So you know, talking about like spirituality of like Egypt, of like Mayan, it's a learning experience, and through that, what do you get out of it? You grow, you learn, you level up, and again, you're greatly appreciated within the community for your contribution. So come in, join our next broadcast with whatever it is that you would like to be able to contribute, and it's all just practice. Remember, it's all just practice. So I did just want to, as we switch into our meditation here, I did just want to be able to give a shout out to Nick. Nick did join back in the chat, and Nick, it is the end of the broadcast, but I just want to be able to give you a chance to just say hello, and anything real quick that you might want to share related to dreams, or just even gratitude that you might want to be able to express in general. So Nick, passing the talking stick over to you, dude. Good to see you again, man. And if there's anything you would like to share, by all means, go right ahead.
Definitely. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds okay.
Yeah, I felt like I needed to hop on and say something tonight. I heard you talking about the Alan Watts lecture about reality possibly being a dream, correct? Something like that. I think that was okay. So this I think is extremely important, potentially, like groundbreakingly, what I feel like, because I had like leadership of synchronicity I feel like to do with dreams. Some coworkers of mine and
Nick, it's
experiencing
a
them.
little choppy. Like it's kind of like cutting in and out every couple seconds.
And then one of them tells me that.
Oh, I think we're getting lag on that too.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, but it's like kind of choppy. Like it's, and I think we had this issue once before actually. So, go ahead, Nick. We'll try it one more time. And if not, we may just have to save it for another broadcast. And yeah, Nick, try turning off your webcam if you want to do that. Yeah, and I think, yeah, Nick, do you want to just try turning off your webcam real quick? Thank you for your patience, everybody tuning into this. Please feel free to get comfortable for the meditation as we begin to segue. Once we just give Nick a chance to be able to share here. So. And shout out to those of you in the live chat. Shout out to Unconditional Love. Shout out to Jake, Megabyte. Jake says, only time I've seen fractals was when I smoked DMT, XD. I don't remember subscribing to this channel, so this is trippy. Thanks, Jake. Glad you found your way here. All right. I think Nick may have, we may have lost Nick. So if that's the case, stay tuned because we definitely will be able to hear more from him in future broadcasts. And just as for those of you who are wondering, when's the next stream class going to be? As we move into this, the routine is ideally to do them each month, and that would be like the week before we do Destiny School, and Destiny School is the last Thursday of each month. So if you're looking to join in for the next dream class, then use this broadcast as an opportunity to, like, you know, do work between now and then so that you have more to be able to show up for a next dream class, to be able to say like, yeah, you know, I've been practicing and had some amazing dream experiences. Now I want to be able to practice talking about it. Okay, let me just check in again. Nick, are you there? And I think we might have lost Nick. Yeah, it's just like totally frozen and stuff. So. Okay, guys, let's get ready to practice our meditation. And so again, the meditation that we're doing here is within the concept of shared dream experience. So we didn't even talk about that this broadcast, but it's the idea of like, can two people be in the same dream? And sometimes we will dream about our friends, and that's one thing, but can you have a dream where two people are in the dream space, in the same place, interacting, and they wake up and they're just like, wow, you know, like, did that happen? Like, do you remember that? Were we in the same place? And so that's like one way of being able to look at this, but at the same time, it's also being able to move towards the narrative of anchoring into a created space within the dream plane, within the dream astral realm. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to switch over to a visual that you're going to see on screen. And this visual is of the paradigm shift central dream tree, as we call it. So for those of you on YouTube, you're actually going to see this on screen right now. And I'm just turning off my lights. You can't even see that and everything like that. But just inviting you guys to get nice and comfortable as I explain this to you real quick. So this is going to be a very short meditation, and again, reminding you that we do have our global meditations every Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, live.paradigmshiftcentral.com or youtube.com/skullbabylon. So the concept behind what we're doing right now, as you get nice and comfortable, and I'll just kind of like set the pace, set the mood for you guys. What we're doing right now is we are creating the intention to be able to crystallize a common space within the dream plane, to be able to collectively focus our intention towards being able to anchor in to one place in which we can continuously and collectively visit through our dreams and through our meditation. And so this place, for those of you who are able to visually see, you can look at it on screen now. For those of you who are just listening to audio, maybe you've turned in the past broadcast, you know what I'm explaining, but for those of you who may be brand new, the basic concept, very simple: an open field with a tree. And above that tree, this is kind of secondary, but it's still there, is imagining the paradigm shift sigil above the tree. And so the paradigm shift sigil, for those of you who are looking at the image, you can see it's very much like a compass. It's like a portal. It's like a stargate. And that sigil is one that is like embodying the energy of the community. and it represents the intentions we put out, and you know, the magnetism of how we are able to find one another. And so having this symbol within this practice helps anchor, helps be a portal for the energy that we are gathering through this meditation, through this intention. And so I'm going to guide you into the meditation in the next minute. So I just invite you to get nice and comfortable. And what we're going to do is basically go up to the tree, connect with it, familiarize ourselves with it, and then that's basically it. And then the idea behind this is that in future practices, at your own pace, within your own dreams, think about this either before going to sleep, during the day, or if you become lucid in a dream, will yourself to go to the dream tree. And there you will be able to find other shifters, people who are intentionally helping shift consciousness, and you can connect with us as a team. So it's like, yeah, we're having these broadcasts right now. Imagine if we could have these discussions in the dream plane. Again, this is where we're starting to kind of, like we were saying, it's like, wow, this is like advanced technology. You know, this is like the internet that's inside of us. This is the internet. So it's utilizing that. What if, think about that, every night when we dream, we have the opportunity to continue to connect and to continue to learn from each other. And so this isn't even just a concept at this point. Other people, because we've done this throughout previous broadcasts, have experienced going to the dream tree, and they have seen other people there at the dream tree as well. So knowing that, let's continue to move into this meditation. So I just invite you to get nice and comfortable, and we'll just do a quick body scan, and then this will be very short. And I guide you through this to be able to help you add your focus as we crystallize the vision of the dream tree. And so wherever you are, again, just thanking you for being here. And I invite you to just allow yourself to be in a position where you'll be nice and comfortable and be able to find a place of stillness, to maintain stillness in your physical body, while you continue to actively bring focus inside through your mind. And so let us begin simply by connecting with the breath. Gentle inhales through the nose. Gentle exhales through the nose or the mouth. Again, together, gentle inhales through the nose. Gentle exhales. Just continue to allow the rhythm of your breath to gently guide you through this meditation. So you allow your body to become relaxed and your mind to become alert. So I'm gently just going to bring up some meditation audio in the background. You'll slowly be able to hear it. So as you continue to breathe, let us gently just scan our body as we allow ourselves to become more relaxed. So gently, before we even go into the visual, just bring your focus to your feet, to your shins, to your knees, and allow your feet, your shins, and your knees to gently relax. Good. Bring your awareness up to your thighs, your hips, your groin. Allow your thighs, your hips, and your groin to gently relax. Bring your awareness up to your torso, up to your ribs, your stomach. Gently allowing your torso, your ribs, your stomach to relax. Bring your awareness up to your chest, your shoulders, your back. Allowing your chest, your shoulders, and your back to gently relax. Bring your awareness to your arms, your elbows, your forearms, your hands. Allowing your arms, your forearms, your elbows, and your hands to gently relax. Bring your awareness to your neck, to your jaw, your cheeks. Allowing your neck, your jaw, and your cheeks to gently relax. Bring awareness to your nose, your eyes, your eyebrows, your forehead, and your entire head. allowing your nose, your eyebrows, your forehead, your entire head to gently relax. With your body relaxed and your mind alert, even just straightening up your posture if you need to, very slowly, very softly, as we begin to turn our focus inwards, being aware of the breath guiding us, gentle inhales and gentle exhales. And in this moment, I invite you to imagine yourself in a field. And this field has grass that may be up to your hips. And as you're standing in this field, you can see the dream tree off in the distance. And with the grass gently at your hips, I invite you to just integrate your awareness into this space through sensations and textures by gently touching the grass in your fingertips, just rubbing a piece of grass between your fingertips and just feeling the texture of it, making it as real as possible in this moment. Good. And just being aware of the sensation of your environment, the temperature of the air on your skin, and just being able to smell any smells. It would be very fresh, just the smells of nature. And in this moment, as you observe, you look towards the dream tree off in the distance. Above it, you see the paradigm shift sigil floating above it, pulsating like a portal. And from a distance, you can feel the energy of it, ancient and futuristic, with intentions that ripple beyond the eons that you may even be aware of. And within this landscape, even just adding more to this vision by imagining the sky, not just as a sky, but almost as if it is the landscape of space itself. And so in this space that you are in, you begin to bring your awareness into all the details, to all the textures, into all the sensations, bringing your awareness into this present moment. And at this moment, I just invite you to imagine yourself feeling as if you are slowly floating off the ground. And so just lifting your feet off the ground through the will of your mind, as if in a lucid dream. Feeling yourself floating above the grass. And as you do, gently through your own will, moving towards the dream tree, floating there at a pace that feels comfortable for you, almost feeling the natural gravitational pull of the dream tree, of the paradigm shift sigil portal, moving you closer towards it, almost like as if you step into a stream and you allow the stream to move you as you simply float along. And as you do this, you begin to arrive closer to the tree. And as you arrive closer, still floating in the air, you acknowledge that you see other people sitting around the tree, engaged in multiple forms of conversation, of celebration, of dance. You see people sitting and meditating. You see people writing and journaling. You see people playing music. You see people giving each other massages. You see people hugging and embracing one another. You feel the vibration of this space. You feel the celebration of it, the joy, the shared intention. And perhaps you recognize some of the people. You recognize them perhaps as even people who we have heard within this broadcast. And as you do this, you slowly begin to float closer towards the tree. And soon your feet are back on the ground and you are standing in front of the tree. And I invite you within your imagination to make this tree as magical as you wish to make it, in a size that makes sense for you. Perhaps it is large, perhaps it is no bigger than a normal tree. And yet as you look up at the branches, you can see the energy moving through it. You can acknowledge that there is a pulse coming deep from within the roots that echo through its branches. And almost in a way that is psychedelic, you can see the energy underneath the wood, underneath the bark, moving through this tree, underneath it and around it. An energy that can be thought of as almost blue, purple plasma. And so you just take a moment here to acknowledge the beauty of this tree. And again, visualizing it as richly as you can. And so as you take a breath here, gentle inhales, gentle exhale. You gently place your palms on the tree and you feel the texture of it. You feel the bark of it. And gently, perhaps you have already intuitively done this, you move closer to the tree and gently place your forehead onto it. Or you can imagine yourself giving the tree a hug. Something that we should do every day. Go hugging that tree. And so as you do this, still surrounded by all of the people in this moment, celebrating, expressing, connecting, honoring, evolving, in this moment, you connect your breath with the heartbeat and the breath of the tree. And as you do this within this meditation, you both receive from the tree as well as pour your love into it. And as you do this, you crystallize it. Your imagination makes it real within this shared vision that we are in. And also making it real within the higher dimensions, within the astral planes, knowing that this tree is not just within our imagination. It is within our imagination, yet it already exists. Think about that for a second. It already exists. The space you are in right now exists. You have arrived. And so feel the love of this tree, of what it represents, connection to community, evolving as dreamers within the dream, the shared journey of expansion of soul. And so you continue to breathe and you allow the love of this tree connected to the heart of Earth, the heart of Gaia, the heart of the cosmos. Whether or not you even imagine that this tree is on Earth, its roots connect to a crystal, which is the crystal at the center of all of our hearts. At the heart of who we truly are as soul, as energy, as light. And so literally, as we do this meditation, all you need to do is gently connect with the tree, receive any love in this moment from it, while pouring your love into it. With inhales, you breathe in the love of the tree, of Gaia, of the universe. With the exhales, you pour your love into it, and as you do, it crystallizes. You create a relationship, you create a connection that will allow you to return to this space beyond this moment, be it in meditation or in dream. And so I invite you to create the intentions in this moment to be able to return to this space. And so take a few more breaths here, familiarize yourself with it, allow this tree to become your friend, allow it to be felt like family, allow it to be seen as an extension of your true essence. So take another breath here, gentle inhale, gentle exhale. Allow this moment to feel as real as possible, still feeling the bark as you embrace the tree, feeling the energy move through your heart. And as you do this, just take another moment here to even imagine yourself turning around with your back to the tree, sitting down at the base of it. and positioning yourself in a lotus position. And we'll just take a few more moments here to breathe, and as you do, whereas before you were feeling the sensation very specifically through the heart and perhaps even the third eye, here we align our spine with the trunk, and as we breathe in both the energy from above and below. We connect with the tree. We realize that we are the tree, in whatever way that means for you. And so, in your meditation, I invite you to close your eyes within your meditation, to visualize the energy moving through the tree, the crystalline energy. And though your eyes are closed within your meditation, just acknowledging the sounds, the imagination of the sounds, and the space, the presence, the feeling. Focus on the feeling, for that will guide you. It is the feeling that will return you home to this space of what it feels like to be amongst community, amongst friends, amongst kin, fellow dreamers within the dream. And so take a few more breaths here as we move closer to concluding this meditation. I invite you to gently breathe, and as you do, you feel energy moving down from the root, from the tree branches, reaching up to the skies, the heavens, the cosmos, and that energy is moving into you, in through the top of your head, through the crown. And as you breathe, you feel the energy moving up through you, through your root, through your spine, through your coccyx. And just hold that feeling. Gentle exhales. Just feel the peace of this moment. Remind yourself of what this feels like. And so when the time comes for you to dream, think about this as you fall asleep. Literally what we just did. Imagine yourself floating up to the tree. Connect with it. Embrace it. Talk with any people who are in this space that you are in too. Anchor into this moment through feeling, through heart, and through story. And so we'll just take a few more breaths here, and then we will slowly transition our awareness back to our physical bodies. So just take your time. Feel this sensation. Allow any love to enter into your heart. Allow the peace to be felt. Allow the intention to be set for you to be able to return here. You can even verbalize it in a way that feels right for you. You can say, "This is a place that I will return to. This is a place that I am at within my heart." And so whether you are dreaming or meditating, know that at your heart, you are always at this tree. You are always connected with community. We are always here to support each other, to celebrate this journey that we are all on. Divine fractals of a shared truth. Dreamers within the dream, awakening to who we are. So take a couple more breaths here. Gentle inhales. And gentle exhales. One more together. Deep inhale, nice and soft. And gentle exhale. And just continue to breathe at a rhythm that feels comfortable for you. And still imagining yourself sitting at the base of the tree, we will transition our awareness back to our physical reality. And when you are ready, you can slowly do so by gently wiggling your fingers and your toes. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes and return your awareness to the physical space around you, while still allowing your imagination, your soul, your spirit, for a part of you to still be at this tree. And so when the time comes for you to dream, just remember that feeling and allow that to guide you. And you will find your way back to this tree. And through there, you will experience. And through that experience, we will grow together, tapping into the infinite potential of who we are. And so continuing to breathe here, and again, if you haven't yet, gently opening your eyes. Even if you want, just putting your hands on your heart, taking a couple more breaths here, just taking your time. As if you just woke up from a dream right now, reflecting on what it felt like. And just honoring that feeling. Thank you. So again, just allowing the breath to maintain nice and calm. And as we conclude this meditation, just thanking you so much for being here, so much for being a part of this. Truly just honoring the experience of what it is that we are creating, the uniqueness of what it is that we are doing here as community. And I'll just leave the visual on screen for a moment longer just before I bring my webcam back on of the dream tree, the visual for those of you who see it. And for those of you who are listening to the audio, if you're looking for that visual, it's the image on the YouTube. That's what it is. So you can see that the person on the checkerboards between the two pillars with the tree in the distance and the sigil above the tree with the portal activated. And again, very simply just thinking of that person as us, the checkerboard as reality, the pillars of knowledge and perception that we continuously step through with courage and with love. And so I'll transition back to my webcam in a second. So just take another moment there to look at that and look at the paradigm shift sigil. Remind yourself what that looks like. Hold that image in your mind and let that image guide you. Think about that image as you fall asleep, and that will help you find the dream tree as well. And again, you can find that image at any time. So I'll just transition back to the webcam here. And again, I just thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this. I actually, I do want to just check in with Robert just before we end the broadcast, even to just hear a little bit of feedback from him on just what that meditation was like for him, and for anybody else in the YouTube live chat. Please feel free to leave any comments on what the meditation was like for you. It's always very, very important to be able to just get that feedback, and it's always very exciting. So I'll just check in with Robert here and just invite him if there is anything he would like to share. And as we get close to this meditation, we'll just express some gratitude, and I'll just remind you guys of a couple other things about supporting the broadcast, and then that will be it, and we'll be back again for next week. So Robert, just opening up the talking circle again, how was that for you, man? I guess that was the first time you've gotten to do that with us, so how was that?
Well, that's not just the first time that I got to do that, but that's probably the second time that I've ever got to experience that ever. I mean, I try to practice things like astral projection and stuff, but I'm not on that level. To have someone kind of guide me through this makes a big difference. And so that kept my mind focused. I want to relate it a little bit to number synchronicity, like 1111. When I see those numbers, I get chill bumps. It's like a confirmation. It's like something is there.
Truth bumps, I call them sometimes.
Truth bumps, okay. And when I got to the tree in the dream, oh man, I felt the chill bumps. I felt it all over me. Something was there.
Nice.
Like this me being here in this interview, or not interview, me being here in this broadcast, and all this was not accident. This was meant to be in my world. And so it felt really humbled to experience that, and it felt right. with that being said, my cat looked at me like, "What is he doing?" and came up and started licking my nose, like, and that's like, so there was a little funny moments going on there. But man, I feel really good. I feel relaxed. Like I feel like I can go lay down now and have a really good night's sleep. So that was really wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you too, man. Again, I really, it's a really humbling experience for me to be able to guide people through that. And, for those who, even, that short meditation for some people can be very visceral for them. And that just kind of goes into the idea of what happens when we collectively kind of have our focus on one place at one time. But yeah, kind of what Robert was saying, be aware of when you get those like energy sensations through your body, because those are, again, kind of like a way for you to like be present in that moment. And it is kind of like a confirmation thing and be like, oh wow, okay, we're tapping into something here. So that's fascinating. And for those of you who may be new to this channel, again, on YouTube and things like that, or anywhere that you're listening to this, and if you really enjoyed that short meditation, I just want to be able to invite you to go onto my channel and check out the other guided story meditations that we have done. They are incredibly powerful, and so it's similar to that, where it's me verbally guiding you through a meditation, but it's very different. Like, it's not like meditations I've come across online, where it's very much like that first person narrative experience, and then there's a story to them. And we have different ones where we've like gone to astral cities, we've gone to like inner earth, we've gone to Agartha, we've like been a wolf in one, and there's been like psychedelic experiences, there's been some at festivals. So again, there's a lot of these on my YouTube channel, so if you enjoyed that, you don't have to wait for the next broadcast. In the meantime, go listen to those. And again, that will help you not only practice meditation, but it will also help you flex your imagination. And I think that's a topic in itself, how just, daydreaming during the day, getting creative, watching things that inspire creativity can help you in your dream practice as well, by kind of like allowing you to bring that imagination ability into your dream practice. Because again, that there's that whole idea that like, imagination, nation of the magi, like we are the magi. So if your consciousness is at a place where it's capable of like actively creating with endless possibilities, then just think of how when you're in a dream, that is going to help you decide what it is that you want to do. It's kind of ironic, and I'm not going to talk about this long, but some people might become lucid in a dream, and they might be like, they might just be like, I don't know what to do right now, so it's like you almost have to prepare for that by getting creative. So like, go watch anime, go watch Dragon Ball Z, go watch fantasy movies, and then when you do become lucid, you're like, all right, let's go fly around and shoot like love lasers out of my face or something like that, and then you can get into this other layer of the dream practice, whereas like as you become lucid in dreams, you can actually use that opportunity to like do grid work. And what I mean by that is like putting like intention into the grid of consciousness and like healing the planet from that like higher dimensional plane. So I mean, like, that's a topic that we can get into on future broadcasts, but I'll just kind of end it there. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for being as part of this broadcast. Robert, I'll just allow you one more chance to just any gratitude that you want to be able to express, and also if you have any contact information you would like to be able to share to invite people to connect with you, please feel free to share that as well, man. And thank you again. It's been an honor having you here. So Robert, if you're still there, if there's anything that contact and gratitude.
Yeah, I'll link my Facebook on here. I think I don't have any really other way of sharing my contact other than just through Facebook. Mm-hmm. I'm now an admin now for the 1111 group, which is tremendous for me.
That makes two of us.
Kind of how I found this too.
Yeah,
like,
happy.
I can't. I mean, all of this together as a bundle, I can't really explain, because yesterday I got the news that I'm going to be composing for a film, which I'll link in here as well.
Please do.
And then this today, and I'm having to try to ground myself, because I'm becoming like overwhelmingly unstable, and
with excitement, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow I'm going to go outside for the first time in my entire life, and I'm going to set up a little video camera, and I'm gonna just kind of talk about some perspectives, some things. It'll be short. I'm going to share it on the 1111 thing, and It'll be the first time that I've ever done that. And so, and this is the first time that I've ever experienced this. And like I said many times, nothing happens by accident. And I believe, and you know, and it's not an accident that this topic was about dreams, because the past 3 days, with an exception of yesterday, 2 days prior, I was in tears, man. Like, I was going outside in the middle of the night and just sitting down on the ground and just like, man, like, help me, God, help me. What I want to not so much find my purpose, my will to do things, because I believe when it comes to God, I believe in God's eyes, and I read this through conversations with God, our will is his will, but is his will our will? And I made it clear that I want to follow God's will. And then just all these doors started happening after the dreams. And like I said, it's not an accident. And this has been a blessed opportunity. And I will go out of my way. I'm going to make sure that just keep in touch with me. Let me know when you're going to do these. I'm going to try to attend as many of them as possible. And I just encourage other people who may be suffering, who may be dealing with frustrations. They're not quite there yet. Be patient. That's really what this journey comes down to, is just being patient and never giving up. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated, but never lose the patience, because for me at 30 years of age, all my dreams are starting to happen right now. And this can happen to anybody. And I mean, I don't know. It's just the past 2 days it's been unreal. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I'll link the video and I'll link my Facebook in the message, and you guys can take a look at it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, thank you again, man. It's great for just like to hear how this experience, what it's meant to you and everything like that, because it just kind of like validates not only how I feel about doing this, but what we as a community can also feel as well. You know, it's just that idea of like ripples create waves, and yeah, I just wanted to hit upon real quick. So like, is your Facebook your name within like Robert Amaker? Is that what people would look up on Facebook?
I just linked it right there for you guys in the chat.
So like, that's the chat that people who are watching on YouTube won't see. Like, only we see that, but I'll copy that into the YouTube right now, actually. So yeah,
Robert Amaker, that's me. If you go to my wall, I have a bunch of videos that I have global of me playing piano, so it's not hard. Just look through the comments and you'll see me.
Cool. Okay, so again, for people who are just listening on audio, Robert Amaker, Amaker, just how it sounds. So yeah, dude, thank you again, man. I look forward to being able to like collaborate more and stuff like that. And yeah, totally appreciate you being here, man. So much love. Awesome stuff. And yeah, and Robert mentioned the 1111 movement group. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I'll send you guys a link for that too. But there's a lot of 1111 groups out there online and everything these days, and one of them is the 1111 movement. It's specific. I believe it's specifically called the 1111 movement. It's a Facebook group on Facebook. Robert and myself are some of the admins on there, and shout out to Jessica, who is one of the organizers, and Glenn as well. And yeah, we're working on just kind of like helping, you know, like through there, invite more people to be able to get involved with community and be at these broadcasts or other forums. And yeah, just quick shout out to them as well, and I'll put that in the show notes also. So yeah, stay tuned for more like future collaborations with that, and yeah, lots of possibilities opening up. And yeah, again, you know, just moving into the conclusion of this broadcast, just thanking everyone so much for being a part of this, reminding you guys to tune in for future broadcasts. Again, every Thursday and Sunday. Thursdays are always roundtable oriented, so we have our team roundtables twice a week at least, or twice in a row at least, and then we have our dream class, and then we have our destiny school. So again, next broadcast on the 27th is spiritualities of ancient cultures. Really inviting you guys to be able to help join in the research part of that prior to the broadcast, and to be able to be a part of that discussion. Very potent topics coming up your way. And other than that, I just want to be able to remind everyone that they can check out more at paradigmshiftcentral.com and create their profile online if if they have not yet. And if you also haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to me at youtube.com/skullbabylon. Check some of the new videos that we've got on. We got some comedy videos on there that we've been posting up. More videos always coming your way. And also subscribe to Paradigm Shift. To these broadcasts, you can look up Paradigm Shift Radio on iTunes. But again, all the podcast links are also on the main website at live.paradigmshiftcentral.com. Join our Discord at tinyurl.com/paradigmshiftchat. And of course, huge bonus shout out to our team Patreon supporters. Just want to remind you guys that these broadcasts are made possible by our support as a community through the team Patreon and other donations that you guys contribute. So if you really enjoyed these broadcasts and you love the fact that we put these out for free, we put them out for the love of them, we put them out because we know that they make a difference, then support by making a monthly micro contribution if you're able to. There are a million ways to support this project, but that is one way to be able to do it, and that is at patreon.com/Brendon Culliton. And when you do that, you also get your shifter booster kit. For those of you who aren't familiar, you see like the free hug sign behind me, plus the shift buttons, which are all like consciousness shifting buttons that have symbols on them related to conscious themes, and those have the Paradigm Shift Central website on the rim, so you can use those as tools. Like, they're not just fancy buttons, they're tools to give to people, to spark conversations, to evoke synchronicities, invite people back to the project, and to build community where you are. And also within the Shifter Booster Kit, you also get your Light Guardian Crystal, which I'll hold up to the camera there for those of you who haven't seen those before. And those are exclusive items available to the people who join on the team Patreon. You can also get them through the questitemshop.com as well. And through the Quest Item Shop, I'll just give a quick shout out because the Quest Item Shop does have some additional options where now we have allowed people to be able to get monthly Shifter Booster Kit subscriptions, and those are starting at $25. So in addition to the Patreon, if you're looking to be able to get a Shifter Booster Kit every month, that is one way to be able to do that. And again, that is at questitemshop.com. We've got one person signed up for the monthly subscription for that. Shout out to Chad. Thank you so much, Chad. And we're looking to get more people signed up for that. If we can get like 10 people signed up, that's going to help the community a lot, because like funds from that go into promotion for events, go into just like more support for the time involved with running this project. And you can also support by single donations at tinyurl.com/tipwolf. And again, those are all in the information in the YouTube video as well. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to message me. You can find me at facebook.com/skullbabylon. But reminding you guys as we conclude this broadcast that again, we do this for inspiration. We do this as a community. We do this to move the narrative forward. And of course, we encourage you as shifters to continue to ripple the inspiration of this broadcast forward by having these conversations in real world scenarios, by building physical paradigm shift communities, which again are just about open-minded discussion and meditation circles. There's a bunch of them worldwide. You can start a paradigm shift community where you are. All you got to do is find a location, set up the meetings, host them, and repeat. That simple. We've been doing this for 10 years, and you guys can do this where you are too. We have the tools, we have the technology, you have the inspiration. Go out there, take action, and the universe will definitely meet you halfway. You are already connected to the people who you have yet to meet. And again, think of this reality as an extension of the dream. You are lucid right now. Manifest with your will. Where you put your intentions is going to make things happen. So as your focus goes, energy flows. So with that said, you know, from one dreamer to another, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. And if you haven't yet, be sure to go check out past broadcasts online as well if you enjoyed this and are looking for more. And on behalf of myself and Robert, I'll just pull Robert's microphone up as we get ready to be able to say goodbye to people across the internet. So dream well, dream lucid. Robert, join me in saying goodnight to the people of the internet. So good night, beautiful people of the internet. We love you.
Thank you for all the awesome questions, all the experiences. Thank you all. Thank you for being here.
Sweet. All right. Thank you so much, Robert. And if you want to stick around for 1 second, I'll chat with you once we wrap up this broadcast. And absolutely. Other than that, I'll chat with you soon. So for everyone else, keep it shifty, and we will see you guys in the future. Much love.